Chapter 6:13. Not only calculations, but his brain could even simulate chemical molecular structures and chemical reactions, and conduct virtual experiments in his brain. In other words, his brain was not only solving problems, but it could also deduce the results of the experiment. A few minutes later, Charlotte picked up the chalk and wrote on the blackboard. 3 minutes later, Charlotte threw the chalk on the ground. The blackboard was full of content, the correct content. This. Lin Yi's jaw dropped to the ground. Several old scientists also stared at Charlotte, stunned. They couldn't believe that a high school student actually solved a problem that a PhD student couldn't solve. The young man in front of them had subverted their understanding of high school students, and it also made them blush for their previous biased and discriminatory remarks. Fanfan's reaction was different from everyone else's. She looked at Charlotte with shining eyes, proud of him, and proud that she was his assistant. Some women like men who are good at fighting, they think it's cool. Some women like handsome men, because walking on the street with a beautiful boyfriend will attract the envy of the same kind. Some women like very smart men, men who are very capable and can make money, because such men can bring a superior material life. No matter what kind of characteristics, Charlotte could reflect it. This was why he could always attract the eyes of women. He was divorced, and he was a top bachelor. Okay, that's it. It's not a problem, Charlotte said faintly. This sentence made Lin Yi want to hit the wall. He, a PhD student, couldn't solve this problem in half a month, but the high school student he discriminated against only took a few minutes to solve it. This was simply a slap in the face, and it was a hard slap. Lin Yi, academician Xia has solved your problem. I think you should also fulfill your promise. Fan urged, quickly apologized to academician Xia. Lin Yi's face turned red and he stammered. It was easy to say sorry, but it was very difficult for him to say it. Is it difficult? Fan looked at Lin Yi with a questioning look. Lin Yi's face turned even redder, but he still couldn't bring himself to apologize. All he had left now was his so-called intellectual dignity. Fan still wanted to say something, but Charlotte said, "No, I don't need anyone to apologize to me." A sweet smile appeared on Fan's face. She said, "Well, let's get out of here and find my grandfather." Charlotte was about to leave the office with Fan when Lin Yi suddenly called out, "Wait, I'm sorry." He finally said it. Xia Lei turned back to look at her with a smile on his face. "It's fine. I just hope that when Mr. Lin meets high school students like me in the future, you won't look at them with prejudice." A certain someone's face turned red again, and she felt so ashamed that she could die. At this time, Fan Yiming appeared at the door of the office. When he saw Charlotte, he became happy. "Haha, Mr. Xia, I sent someone to pick you up at the door. I didn't expect you to be here already." Charlotte was speechless. This Fan Yiming's way of doing things was really strange. Fan Yiming said, "It's good that you're here. Come with me to the office. I've looked through the materials you sent, but there are a lot of things that I don't understand. We need to have a good talk." Charlotte was stunned for a moment. He didn't say anything, but in his heart, he was thinking about the tea party and the ceremony. "Grandfather." Fan wanted to remind Fan Yiming, but Fan Yiming had already pulled Charlotte's hand and left the office. The old scientists in the office looked at each other in dismay. Each one of them had a strange expression on their faces. They were all gathered here by Fan Yiming, so that they could meet Xia Lei and get to know each other. They had been waiting here for a long time, but the moment Fan Yiming came, he wanted to take Charlotte away. This kind of thing was really depressing. The old scientists were left to the side. The welcoming ceremony and the tea party were naturally forgotten by Fan Yiming. However, Charlotte didn't care. He actually didn't like that kind of thing. Fan Yiming's office was very big, but the space was filled with all kinds of materials and equipment. It was the same situation as his office. It looked very messy and crowded. Fan also came in and closed the door of the studio. Fan Yiming walked to a wall and pressed a switch on the wall. The wall suddenly opened, revealing an alloy door. Fan Yiming walked to the door and entered the password. He scanned his cornea and the alloy door opened, revealing a hidden space. It looked like a normal office, but it was much more advanced than the one in front of him. It was also much more organized. Charlotte glanced at the Ming Dynasty compass that was placed on a workbench. His heart jumped and he thought to himself, "Isn't the compass being taken around the world to find the next hidden treasure? Why is it here? Could it be that there is already a result?" "Please come in, Mr. Xia." Fan Yiming entered the hidden office. Charlotte followed Fan Yiming in. Fan was the last to enter. When she entered, the alloy door automatically closed. "Elder Fan, are you studying the compass?" Charlotte asked. "I know you fixed it so you can come into contact with the ancient alloy." Fan Yiming seemed to have entered a different mode. His thoughts were very clear. "If it wasn't for the people above not allowing me to come into contact with the ancient alloy, I would have personally looked at it and analyzed its composition. Elder Fan, before the mystery is solved, it is best if you don't come into contact with the ancient alloy. Before, there was a research team that tried to solve its secret, but some of them are dead and some have gone mad. No one was spared." Charlotte thought of Peaceful and wondered how she was doing. If he had time, he really wanted to go see her. Fan Yiming said, "But if I don't come into contact with the ancient alloy, how can I study it? Sometimes technology needs dedication. If it doesn't work, I will give my life. I don't believe I can't solve its secret. Those dead and mad researchers have already paid the price. Elder Fan, don't make unnecessary sacrifices," Charlotte said. Fan said, "Yes, Grandpa, according to our understanding, in this world, only Brother Lazy can come into contact with the ancient alloy. Other than Brother Lazy, those who have come into contact with the ancient alloy have either died or gone mad. Your body has always been weak, and your resistance is even worse. Do you want to repeat the mistakes of those researchers?" Fan Yiming sighed. "Then what do we do? Without touching it, with just some information, how can we study it?" Fan looked at Charlotte and said with a smile, "Don't we still have Brother Lazy? The people above wanted him to join the Academy of Science, so that we can combine the power of the Academy and help him solve the X-Secret Gold project. I believe that Brother Lazy will succeed." Fan Yiming was silent for a moment before saying, "Okay, I will play a supporting role this time." Charlotte said, "I want to know how far you guys have researched it. Can you tell me?" Fan Yiming said, Fan, let him have a look." Fan responded and then walked in front of a computer. Under her control, a video appeared on the display wall. It was a video of an archaeologist excavating an ancient tomb. It was an ancient tomb from the Ming Dynasty. The tombstone had been completely eroded, and it was impossible to make out the words on it. The ancient tomb was opened, and a large space appeared. It looked like an underground palace, and it was very imposing. What is this place?" Charlotte couldn't help but ask out of curiosity. "This is the first hidden treasure site," Fan Yiming said. "The entire excavation process was recorded, and it lasted for tens of hours. The video in my hand was edited." "Brother Lazy, you don't know the situation of the first hidden treasure site?" Fan asked. Charlotte shook his head. "I don't know, I've never been there before, and no one told me." What he said was the truth. Although he was in charge of Project X, he didn't know the situation of the first hidden treasure site. When he took over, he only took over after something happened to the research team, including Peaceful. All he took was the ancient alloy, the bronze book, and the compass. How could this be? Fan couldn't believe what Charlotte was saying. Charlotte smiled wryly. He didn't explain, but inside, he was wryly smiling. He said to himself, "At that time, the people up there didn't believe me. It was only because I fixed the compass, and I was the only one who could touch the ancient alloy that they let me try. They kept the first hidden treasure site a secret and didn't tell me. Now, they finally believe me. That's why I was able to join the Academy of Science and see the first hidden treasure site. This guess couldn't be proven, but it wasn't far from the truth. The video on the display wall continued, and the scene changed to a tomb. A few archaeologists carefully opened a jade coffin. The scene changed again, and a woman appeared on the wall. Seeing the woman lying in the jade coffin, Charlotte's eyes widened, and he couldn't close them again. The woman lying in the jade coffin was none other than Princess Yongmei Zhu Xianyue. No words could describe Charlotte's feelings at that moment. From Afghanistan to Okinawa, and now, he had seen 3 corpses of Princess Aimei. The 3 bodies were exactly the same, whether it was skin, appearance, body shape, or even facial features. There was no difference. One person could never have 3 bodies, but Princess Yongmei did. This mystery had been bothering Charlotte. She's so beautiful and so peaceful. It's like she's asleep. Fan gave full play to her imagination. I think, when she was alive, she must have been a talented princess, right? She must have had a lot of pursuers. Xia Lei secretly said in his heart, multi-talented? If you had seen her when she went crazy and killed people, you wouldn't think that way. The video on the display wall changed again. An archaeologist took out the ancient alloy from Princess Yongmei's mouth, and Princess Yongmei's body immediately weathered away. In just a few seconds, it felt like 1,000 years had passed, and her body turned into ashes, leaving nothing behind. I've seen this scene many times. I'm also in the field of biological engineering, but I don't understand why a perfectly good corpse would disappear in just a few seconds, Fan said faintly. Where's the archaeologist? Charlotte asked. As far as I know, he's dead, Fan Yiming said. Chapter 6:14. This question seemed a little redundant because so far, out of all the people who had come into contact with the ancient alloy, only Xia Lei was fine. The others were either dead or insane. The image on the wall changed again. An archaeologist opened a stone room behind the jade coffin. There were many things in the stone room, such as ceramics, weapons, armor, and the bronze book. There were also other things like imperial edicts, books, and jewelry. They were all well preserved. Where is this ancient tomb? Charlotte asked. Not far, only a few dozen kilometers. It's in Tong Zhou's Yongla shop, Fan Yiming said. Yongla shop. Although he had lived in the capital for a long time, Charlotte had never been to this place. This was the first time he had heard of this place. It has a history, Fan Yiming said. Have you heard of the Yongla treasure? Charlotte shook his head. Fan interrupted. Legend has it that Yongla Emperor hid the treasures left behind by the Yuan dynasty and the treasures brought back by Zheng He in the Yongla shop. Whoever gets their hands on this treasure will be as rich as a country. When the compass found the first treasure, the archaeologists were all excited. They all thought they had found the legendary Yongla treasure, but it wasn't. Princess Yongmei's tomb had many treasures, but they were nothing compared to the legendary Yongla treasure. What was the relationship between the Yongla treasure and the ancient alloy? Charlotte's heart was in turmoil. Did the archaeologists not find any clues to the Yongla treasure? If the Yongla treasure is also in the Yongla shop, then there should be some clues. Fan Yiming said, I'm not sure about that. I don't care about the Yongla treasure. I only care about the ancient alloy and the Mystic Gold X project. Charlotte could understand why an old scientist like Fan Yiming didn't care about the Ming dynasty's treasure. However, he didn't think so because the Yongla treasure was related to 2 key people, Yongla Emperor Zhu Di and Princess Yongmei Zhu Xianyue. Yongla Emperor was a great strategist and ambitious. He not only wanted to expand the Ming dynasty's territory, but he also wanted to gain immortality. How could the treasure he had personally buried not contain the secret of the ancient alloy? This was illogical. If I were him, I would also hide the most important secret in my treasure, Charlotte thought. Brother Lazy, what are you thinking about? Fan Fan turned off the video and asked. Charlotte came back to his senses. Nothing, I was wondering if I could go to Princess Yong Mei's grave to have a look. That place has already been emptied. There's nothing left. It's useless for you to go. Fan Fan said. No, I think it's still necessary to go and take a look. Maybe I can find some clues. By the way, Elder Fan, who should I speak to about this? Charlotte asked. Fan Yiming said, You don't need to apply to anyone. Our Academy of Science has enough authority. If you really want to go, you can ask Fan Fan to take you there. Fan Fan and I have been there before. It's easy to get there. Are we going now? Fan Fan looked at Charlotte. Charlotte said, No, I still have something I want to ask. Elder Fan, last time when I handed over the compass, the higher-ups said to send people to find the next hidden treasure. I saw that compass here, and I wanted to ask if you already have an idea of where the next treasure is hidden? Fan Yiming shook his head. I know about this. After you gave the compass to the higher-ups, they sent people all over the world to search for it. They took a plane and flew around the world a few times, but the compass was still pointing towards the sky. I think it's like a man's physiological reaction. It gets hard and then softens. Before Fan Yiming could finish, Fan Fan's face turned red and interrupted him. Grandfather, I'm still here. What did you say? Fan Yiming was not embarrassed at all. Did I say something wrong? You're a bioengineer. You don't even know the simplest physiological reaction of a man? You really should find a volunteer to do some research. Fan Fan. Charlotte was also very embarrassed. However, he felt that if Fan Fan really wanted to find a volunteer to do research on a man's physiological reaction, there would be people fighting to be her volunteer. Forget it. Let's not talk about you, silly girl. Fan Yiming looked at Charlotte. Mr. Xia, let's talk about your research. I have the research data of the previous research team. I've looked at the data and they almost didn't accomplish anything. I've also looked at your research data. You did better than the previous research team and made some breakthroughs. However, in my opinion, it's still far from enough. I want to hear your opinion. Charlotte thought for a moment and said, Elder Fan, you've looked at the research data of the previous research team and me. I think you have a certain understanding of it. I'll explain it briefly. Up until now, its composition is still a mystery. It can't be cut, dissolved, or duplicated. In addition, its body carries a very mysterious energy. This energy can affect a person's nerve. Anyone who comes into contact with it will go crazy. In serious cases, they will die. As for me, I am the only person who is immune to this energy. Fan Yiming suddenly revealed a smile. Actually, I already understand what you've said. Tell me your thoughts on how to solve the X-Secret Gold project. I know you must have some ideas. The three of us are now a team. This team doesn't have a leader, only members. We have to share everything with each other. I do have some ideas, but... Charlotte wanted to say something but stopped. He knew too much. Unfortunately, he couldn't share it with Fan Yiming and Fan Fan. Princess Yong Mei's secret was like this. His secret of taking AE was also like this. Say it, it's okay. Fan Yiming urged. At this moment, Fan Yiming didn't have the slightest feeling of being old and confused. Instead, he looked like an old fox. His eyes were sharp as if they could see through people's hearts. This kind of gaze made Charlotte's heart move. He thought to himself, could it be that he's pretending to be confused? Does he have a secret or motive that he doesn't want me to know? One must not have the heart to harm others, but one must always be on guard against others. Ever since Charlotte awakened the X-ray vision ability in his left eye, he had been very careful. This was also the reason why he was still alive. Say it, I want to hear it. Fan Yiming urged. Charlotte then said, My opinion is that not only do we need to start with the ancient alloy itself, we also need to start with the ancient alloy's history and other clues. We already know that it existed during the Ming dynasty and that Princess Yong Mei used to have it. I want to find the answer from some historical clues. This is also the reason why I insisted on going to Princess Yong Mei's tomb. Fan Fan gave Xia Lei a thumbs up and smilingly said, Brother Lei, your train of thought is really out of the ordinary. Grandpa and I have been studying those materials all day long, trying to guess the composition of the ancient alloy, but we've never thought of starting from the historical clues. I think your idea is very good. Who knows, we might actually be able to find a clue to the secret of the ancient alloy. Charlotte smiled politely. I'm just saying, I'm not sure if it will work or not. Pausing for a moment, he looked at Fan Yiming and probed, Old Fan, I don't think that the reason why the higher-ups want you to go personally is just to help me. You are the leader of our country's HIV cleansing scientists. There is no need to doubt your abilities. I believe that you have your own thoughts and plans in your heart, right? I also want to hear your opinion. I do have my own thoughts and ideas, but they are different from yours. Fan Yiming did not continue. What is it? Charlotte's curiosity had been piqued. Fan Yiming smiled. It's you. It's me? Charlotte was stunned. Fan Yiming said, Mr. Xia, I'll be frank. You are the only person who came into contact with the ancient alloy and remained fine. Your body has antibodies against the ancient alloy. Don't you think you are a great clue to unraveling the secret of the ancient alloy? Vaguely, Charlotte already knew what Fan Yiming's goal was. Fan Yiming continued, The higher-ups want you to join the Academy of Sciences. They want me and Fan Fan to help you solve the X-Secret Gold project. In our team of 3, I specialize in material science and Fan Fan specialize in bioengineering. As for you, you are the most special person in our team. Your job is to find clues about the ancient alloy. At the same time, you are also the one being researched. This was the reason why the higher-ups gave Charlotte the honor of being a member of the Academy of Sciences. This was also the reason why Fan Yiming recruited Fan Fan into his team. This was also the reason why the higher-ups forgave Shintu Tianyin and only allowed him to be locked up for 15 days. Charlotte's heart was filled with bitterness. He did not become the American's lab rat, but he became one here. Up until now, the higher-ups wanted Fan Yiming to participate in the X-Secret Gold project. The head of the Academy of Sciences was personally in charge of the project. Then, he was given the honor of being a member of the Academy of Sciences. Furthermore, he was given all sorts of benefits. How could he not obediently submit? Mr. Xia, I know you are not happy about this, but you have to understand the inevitability and rationality of this matter. Think about it, whoever touches that thing will die, but you are fine. Don't you think that your immune system and gene combination are very valuable? I even believe that your body hides clues and answers. Fan Yiming stared at Charlotte, his eyes burning. Charlotte smiled bitterly. I understand, but how are you going to research me? Not me, it's Fan Fan. Fan Yiming said, she is an expert in this field. She knows what to do. Charlotte's gaze shifted to Fanfan's body. Fanfan's face mysteriously turned red. Her voice also became soft. That body, blood, cells, organs, whatever it is, everything about you is the target of my research. Charlotte's mood became bad. Being a lab rat for Fan Fan, not only did he get rid of the awkwardness of standing naked in front of her, but he was also worried about Fanfan's professionalism and ability. She was the country's most outstanding bioengineer. What she could do was much more than the doctors in the hospital. The doctors did not find any abnormalities in his body, but what if Fan Fan found out? Fan Yiming's expression became serious. Mr. Xia, we are doing this for the country. You won't refuse, right? Actually, if it wasn't for Shintu Tianyin's matter, Charlotte could have completely refused. This was because the higher-ups had no way to keep him in check. Instead, they would ask him to do more things. However, after Shintu Tianyin's matter, the situation changed. If he refused, the higher-ups might continue to investigate Shintu Tianyin's case. At that time, Shintu Tianyin might die. Of course I won't refuse. But, wait for me to get ready. I want to see Princess Yong Mei's tomb first. Charlotte forced a smile. Fan Yiming said, Okay, you guys go to Yongla's shop first. I need to get ready. When you guys come back, we can start. Brother Lazy, I'll take you to Yongla's shop. Fan looked very happy. She led the way. Charlotte and Fan Yiming looked at each other and then turned to leave. After Fan and Charlotte left the hidden studio, Fan Yiming said, What secret is he hiding? I must find out. Chapter 6:15. A few hundred years ago, Yongla shop was still a barren place without any villages or towns. Yongla Emperor Zhu Di once stationed his troops here, and the legend of Yongla treasure was born. After a few hundred years, it developed into a small town, and the legend of Yongla treasure took root in this town and was passed down from generation to generation. A pink Volkswagen Beetle arrived at the entrance of a supermarket in Yongla shop. Charlotte entered the supermarket and bought 2 flashlights and 2 bottles of mineral water. After that, Fan drove the Beetle out of the town, heading east of the town. There was a reservoir on the east side of the town, and on both sides of the reservoir were hills. The hills were not high, and they looked like the landscape of the hilly area. The reservoir was built after the founding of the People's Republic, and it's called the Unity Reservoir. The first treasure site is in the hill next to the reservoir. When the reservoir was built, we didn't find Princess Yongmei's grave. Fan explained the situation to Charlotte while driving. You and your grandfather went in, did you see everything? Charlotte asked casually. Fan said, No, it's very big, and some places haven't been excavated yet. In addition, because it's very close to the reservoir, some places have signs of water seepage, so the archaeological team didn't dare to excavate those places. How big is it? You've seen the video, it's like an underground palace. It's very big, and you'll know when you get there. Well, that's right, we'll know when we go in. Charlotte smiled and changed the topic. By the way, Fan, how are you going to study me? Can you tell me your plan? Fan's face inexplicably blushed again, and she avoided Charlotte's eyes. Do you really want to know? Of course, I'm your experimental subject, but I'm not your lab rat. I have the right to know your plan, Charlotte said. Okay, then I'll tell you. Fan said, First, the basic part, including weighing, measuring height, blood test, cell slices, and so on. In fact, these contents can also be done in the hospital, but I will do it more thoroughly and more accurately. After the basic part is the experimental part. I will conduct systematic tests on the abilities of your brain and organs. The relevant data will be recorded by me. Finally, I will conduct research based on the data and decide on the next step. Charlotte maintained a smile on the surface, but in his heart, he was already screaming for trouble. As for what Fan had mentioned, he was actually not worried about the most basic part, because he had also done these examinations in the hospital, and there were no problems. However, the ability test that Fan mentioned that targeted the brain and organs was troublesome. He knew very well how strong his brain and organs were. Fan was also the top bioengineer in the country. She might really find out that his body had evolved to a level far beyond that of a normal human. What should he do? I know no one wants to be a lab rat, but this is for the X-Secret Gold Project, for the country, I think you can understand. Also, I will do my best to not make you feel uncomfortable. Fan glanced at Charlotte from the corner of her eye. Thank you. Charlotte maintained a faint smile. However, Charlotte's heart was filled with complicated feelings. The reason why he hadn't refused until now, other than to protect Shintu Tianyin, there was actually his own reason. There were 2 reasons. The first was that he also wanted to know to what extent his body had evolved, and what was the mysterious energy hidden in his body. He also wanted to know the answer. The second was that he couldn't refuse, because if he did, the higher-ups might take back the ancient alloy and the bronze treasure book in his hands, and he might not have a part in the subsequent research. In order to unravel the secrets of the ancient alloy and AE, he couldn't lose these things. There were many helpless times in life, when you had to bite the bullet and do something you obviously didn't want to do. The pink beetle climbed up the hill and stopped on the dam of the reservoir. Fan got out of the car and led Charlotte along a muddy path next to the dam into the depths of the forest. Probably because of the rain last night, the mountain road was very muddy, and a lot of yellow mud stuck to the soles of their shoes. Charlotte was a little better. He was wearing flat leather shoes, but Fan was different. She was wearing a pair of high heels. When she stepped on the ground, the high heels of her shoes were embedded in the muddy soil, and she had to use force to pull them out. In the end, she couldn't take it very far. Her armpits and collar were wet. That was because of sweat. Charlotte said, "Let me help you walk." No, I can do it." Fan politely declined, but just as she finished speaking, her foot slipped, and her whole body fell to the muddy ground. Charlotte took a step forward and reached out to hold Fan's small waist, just in time to help her up. Fan's waist was slender and soft, and he could feel the fineness and smoothness of her skin through the fabric of her shirt. It felt like touching the best silk. The strong arms, the handsome and sunny face close at hand, and the smell of a man, these elements affected Fan, and her cheeks flushed. Her eyes blinked under her black-rimmed glasses, and she couldn't open them. She didn't dare to look at Charlotte's eyes. Charlotte's eyes were like the eyes of a hunter, and she was the little white rabbit under the hunter's gaze. Charlotte didn't care whether Fan agreed or not. He held her waist with one hand and put the other hand under her legs, and suddenly picked her up. "Brother lazy you." Fan was very nervous. "What are you doing?" Charlotte said, "You can't walk like this. I'll carry you for a while, and I'll put you down when the road is better." "That's not good, not good." Fan struggled subconsciously, but Charlotte didn't let go of her. Following Xia Lei's footsteps, she gradually calmed down and stopped struggling. However, there was no place on her face that wasn't red, and her eyes were tightly closed, not daring to look at Charlotte. Even so, her body was trembling slightly. This reaction didn't escape Charlotte's eyes, and he felt that her reaction was a bit strange and even abnormal. Under normal circumstances, no matter how shy a woman was, she wouldn't be nervous like this, right? Fan, are you nervous?" Charlotte said with a smile. "I'm not a bad person, you don't have to be nervous." No. Her mouth said no, but Fan's voice was trembling. "I'm not nervous, it's, what is it? My physique is a bit special, it's a very, very sensitive woman." Fan's snow-white neck was also red, and her delicate skin seemed to be smeared with a layer of rouge. Special physique, a very, very sensitive woman? Charlotte had never met one, let alone met one. He hadn't even heard of it. However, he believed Fan's words, because when Fan spoke, he saw the changes in her body. Her cheeks, her neck, and the inside of her thighs were marked with the red marks of excitement. As for him, he was already a very experienced man. He knew what it meant for a woman to have that kind of red mark. This was really awkward. He had only hugged her because the road was difficult, but she was almost in that kind of happy state. That, didn't you treat it?" Charlotte asked casually. "No, I can't treat it. It's natural." Fan's eyelashes were trembling, and her breathing was rapid. "When did you find out?" Don't talk to me, Fan's body suddenly trembled. Charlotte was not feeling well. He only carried her for a while to help, but her reaction was the same as if he had done that kind of thing and reached the peak. This kind of thing really made him quite speechless. Fortunately, the muddy road was finally over. After passing through a forest, the muddy road under their feet turned into a stone road, which looked very dry. The stone road wasn't long, and there was a temporary tent in the distance, and there were guards standing guard. That should be the first treasure site. The first treasure site should have been excavated 2 years ago, but 2 years later, there were still guards standing guard. It was not difficult to guess that there was still an unexplored place in Princess Young Mei's tomb, and the importance of it. Charlotte put Fan Fan down. Is it here? Yes, it's here. Fan Fan let out a long sigh. Her face was red, her neck was red, and the inside of her thighs under her short skirt also had a rouge-like color. Until now, she didn't dare to look at Charlotte's eyes. Let's go. Charlotte didn't need Fan Fan to lead the way, and he walked in front. Wait, I. Fan Fan stopped Charlotte, but she wanted to say something but hesitated. Charlotte looked at her curiously. What are you going to do? Fan Fan bit her cherry lips. I want to go to the toilet. Can you help me look after people? Charlotte, without waiting for Charlotte to agree, Fan Fan trotted off the road and went into the woods on the side of the road. Charlotte smiled bitterly and stood on the side of the road waiting for her. His mind also came up with a strange idea. She was in such a hurry, perhaps it was not as simple as urinating, right? There was a strange sound coming from the woods. The sound was like turning on a faucet, but the faucet was somewhat blocked. This sound caused some trouble for him, and he almost couldn't help but awaken the ability of his left eye to see what was going on. But in the end, he endured it and didn't do that kind of dirty thing. During this time, Charlotte's heart suddenly came up with an idea, and a way to help him through this crisis was slowly taking shape. Her physique is so special, in the process of her studying me, if I use this, I may be able to make her make a mistake, or even do what I want. Charlotte's mouth floated a trace of smile. Fan Fan walked out of the woods, and as she walked, she adjusted her short skirt. She looked a little better, the obvious red marks on her face and neck were no longer visible. Let's go. Fan Fan lowered her head and walked. Let's go. Charlotte walked beside her. Oh right, Fan Fan, how come I didn't hear you mention your boyfriend? Why do you ask this? Nothing, just casually asking. He should be working in America now. Working in America? Isn't it difficult for you to see each other? We haven't seen each other for more than 10 years. You and your boyfriend haven't seen each other for more than 10 years. Charlotte couldn't believe it. I had a relationship in junior high. He later went to America, and we haven't been in contact since, Fan Fan said. Charlotte, this Fan Fan, not only was her physique special, but her thinking was also very special. This seemed to be inherited from Fan Yiming. Chapter 6:16. Before they got close to the destination, a guard stopped Charlotte and Fan Fan. Fan Fan showed her identification and was allowed to pass. Charlotte and Fan Fan walked forward for a while before they saw an entrance. It was a man-made passageway, paved with gravel, and extended downward. At the end of the passageway was an arched stone door. The stone door had been opened, and a passageway paved with flagstones extended underground. There were lights in the passageway, but they couldn't see the end at a glance. Grandpa and I came here 3 times, but we didn't find anything, Fan Fan said after entering the passageway behind the stone door. Her voice echoed in the passageway, accompanied by the sound of her high heels hitting the stone floor, and traveled deep into the passageway. Have you been to those undeveloped places? Charlotte asked. No, Fan Fan said. Some of those undeveloped places are buried in the soil, and some places are seeping water, so we can't go there at all. This place was discovered 2 years ago, but it hasn't been fully developed yet. Why is that? Fan Fan thought for a moment. It's probably because of the reservoir. This ancient tomb is next to the reservoir, and the terrain is under the reservoir. If we rashly dig some places, the water in the reservoir will flood this place. At that time, it would be impossible to save it. The two walked and chatted, and unknowingly entered the ancient tomb. This was a very large ancient tomb, and the space at the end of the passageway looked like a palace hall. It was very wide, and there were dozens of stone pillars that needed people to hug to support the dome. There were dozens of stone statues in the hall, some of them were officers riding horses, and some were soldiers on foot. These statues were exquisitely carved, and their facial expressions were lifelike. There were arched stone doors in front and on the left and right sides of the hall, and there were passageways extending forward behind the stone doors. Princess Yongmei's tomb is in that direction. Fanfan raised her hand and pointed to the stone door in front of Charlotte. Charlotte glanced at it and then shifted his gaze to a stone door on the side. "What's behind it?" Fanfan said. "It's also a tomb, but it's all the slaves buried with him. There are also some places to store cultural relics and antiques." Then, she pointed to the other side. "The situation over there is the same. This place is very wide and the terrain is complicated. The first time I came, I was stunned by it. How is this the tomb of a princess? It's practically an underground palace." Charlotte's heart skipped a beat as he thought to himself, such a large scale, even Judy's emperor's tomb is not as large as this. It's not normal for a princess's tomb to have such a scale. Could this place really be related to the legendary Yongla treasure trove? He didn't know if the archaeologists had thought about this, but it wasn't impossible. After entering the front stone door, Xia Lei and Fanfan walked for about 5 minutes in the east and west passageways before arriving at Princess Yongmei's tomb. It was a very grand and exquisite tomb. Every stone brick in the tomb was carved with flowers. In the middle of the tomb there was a white jade coffin. The coffin lid was open, but there was nothing inside. The archaeologists had already taken away everything that could be taken away, including the ashes of Princess Yongmei. Every place here has been carefully examined. The archaeologists even knocked every stone brick, but they didn't find anything. Fanfan said. The archaeologists had knocked on every stone brick, which showed how meticulous the inspection was. Charlotte said, "I'm just taking a look." "Well, I'll wait for you. After you have seen this place, I'll take you to another place," Fanfan said. Charlotte walked slowly around the oval tomb. As he walked, the ability of his left eye had been quietly awakened. He first used his X-ray vision on the 4 walls of the tomb, as far as he could see. Then he looked through the dome and the ground of the tomb, as far as he could. The result disappointed him. The 4 walls and the dome of the tomb were all made of treated soil, which was a protective layer of lime, glutinous rice, and clay. This kind of protective layer was very common in ancient tombs. It could prevent termites and water seepage. It could also seal the air and prevent the body from rotting. After using his ability too much, Charlotte's body showed signs of fatigue. He used his hand to support the jade coffin, closed his eyes, and waited for recovery. "Brother Lazy, what's wrong?" Fanfan came over and asked with concern. Charlotte opened his eyes and was suddenly shocked by the scene in front of him. The Fanfan he saw was no longer the Fanfan who was wearing a shirt and a short skirt, but the Fanfan who was wearing a transparent thong and bra. The layer of white gauze could not cover the important parts at all. The most beautiful parts of her body were presented in front of him with 80% visibility. Full and firm, white as jade, luxuriant grass, winding paths leading to seclusion, mysterious and alluring. But this was not the reason why he was shocked. The real reason why he was shocked was that Fanfan was holding a gun with a silicone toy in her hand. She also had a naughty smile on her face. The toy in her hand and her strange smile, wasn't it hinting at him to play the game of changing roles? "Brother Lazy, you don't come over." "Ah? What's wrong with you?" Fanfan not only didn't leave, but also grabbed Charlotte's arm. Charlotte's reaction made her even more nervous. Charlotte shook his head, which made him a little more awake. Fanfan, who was wearing a transparent bra, disappeared, and her short-sleeved shirt and short skirt returned to her body. "You?" Fanfan stared at Charlotte and tentatively said, "Brother Lazy, were you hallucinating just now?" This sentence suddenly made Charlotte completely awake. He then realized that the woman standing in front of him was not an ordinary person, but a bioengineering expert. She could make speculations based on some of his reactions, and her speculations were speculations supported by professional knowledge. From this point of view, if he was holding a sniper rifle to kill a target 3,000 meters away, and Fan Fan was also present, then she would definitely guess that his vision was far beyond that of an ordinary person. The seemingly playful and cute Fan Fan with a special physique was actually a time bomb installed in his body, which could explode at any time. It seems that I have to be careful to guard against her. I can't show my extraordinary ability in front of her, otherwise she will be suspicious. She is going to study my body, and if I show my extraordinary ability in front of her, it would be equivalent to guiding her in the direction of her research. Not only can I not do this, but I also have to find a way to destroy her research. Charlotte secretly thought in his heart. Brother Lazy, say something. Are you feeling uncomfortable? Fan Fan asked with concern. Charlotte smiled. It's okay, I was just joking with you. Ouch, there is mud on your leg, let me pat it. Without waiting for Fan Fan to react, Charlotte reached out and patted her thigh. His movement was very fast, but when it fell on Fan Fan's thigh, it stopped and changed from patting to touching. You. Fan Fan's face suddenly turned red, and her body slightly trembled. Charlotte pretended to pat her thigh, but the strength and the time of pause had nothing to do with patting dirt. It was a standard action of taking advantage of her. Fan Fan's reaction was very strong. She bit her cherry lips, and her eyes seemed to be dripping with tears. She glared at Xia Lei angrily, but her gaze was as if she was staring at a delicious cake. After successfully diverting Fan Fan's attention, Charlotte knew when to stop. He withdrew his hand and pretended to say, "Okay, it's clean." Fan Fan looked down and saw that there was a dirty palm print on her thigh. Then, she looked at Charlotte speechlessly. I'm sorry, I must have dirted my hand somewhere just now. Let me pat it for you again." Charlotte reached out his hand again. Don't touch me." Fan Fan nervously dodged. Charlotte shrugged. "I'll take a look, and then we'll go somewhere else." Fan Fan ignored him, and there was still a trace of embarrassment and annoyance in her big black eyes. When they came, she was inexplicably carried up high by him, and now he was doing it again. She was not a stupid girl, and she could see that Charlotte's action just now was a little intentional. Charlotte pretended not to see, and his attention quickly shifted to the floor tiles. Every tile in the tomb had a pattern on it. Some were words, some were animals, some were irregular lines, and some were people's faces. These patterns did not follow any rules, as if they were inlaid on the floor by the craftsman. No matter what, this is Princess Yongmei's tomb. She is the daughter of Emperor Yongle. How could her tomb be so careless? Charlotte secretly said in his heart, but it does look careless, why? Could it be someone did it on purpose? If it wasn't because the craftsman was lazy and wanted to be more convenient, then there must be another reason. Obviously, the possibility of the craftsman being lazy for convenience was almost zero, because it was a feudal dynasty, and the undead who blasphemed the princess would have their entire family executed. Who would dare? Eliminating the first possibility, there was only the second one left. After eliminating the first possibility, Charlotte's left eye swept across every tile, and his brain entered extraordinary mode. Every tile that had been scanned by his left eye appeared in his brain, one after another, until the last one. There were a total of 999 tiles on the floor of the tomb, and each tile had a different pattern or content. The words, lines, and patterns on the tiles were constantly rearranged, combined, and pieced together in Charlotte's brain into the most likely correct content. One by one, the results of the combination appeared in Charlotte's mind, and he overturned them all. Fan Fan looked at Xia Lei with a strange expression. In her eyes, Xia Lei was pacing back and forth in the tomb. Occasionally, he would smile, but very quickly, he would fall silent, as if he had a lot on his mind. She felt that Charlotte was not normal, but she could not guess what he was doing. A full 10 minutes passed. "Brother Lazy, can you stop walking around? My eyes are going blurry." Fan finally could not help but break the silence in the tomb. Just then, Charlotte stopped, and a smile suddenly appeared on his face. Chapter 6:17. Just now, in the last 10 minutes, Charlotte found a clue that had been overlooked. This clue was hidden in the floor tiles of the tomb. Those patterns, words, and lines were combined and arranged by his brain. He had found a very valuable clue. The first treasure site had been excavated 2 years ago, but no one had found any secret hidden in the floor tiles of Princess Young Mei's tomb. In fact, the archaeologists couldn't be blamed for being careless. Who would be so free to take a picture of every floor tile, upload it to the computer, and then spend a lot of time arranging and combining it one by one? However, Charlotte was an exception. He didn't need to take a picture, nor did he need to save the picture to the computer. He only needed to use his eyes and big eyes to complete the work that others needed to use a camera and a computer to do. Moreover, he was faster. In fact, even if an archaeologist took pictures of the floor tiles in the tomb and uploaded them to the computer to arrange and rearrange them, there were 999 floor tiles. It was almost an infinite number of combinations. How could an ordinary person accomplish this? It was simply impossible. In other words, in this world, only Charlotte could do it. The clue hidden in the floor tiles was even prepared for him. Xia Lei tried very hard not to laugh out loud when he got the result, but the corners of his mouth still revealed an obvious smile. "Brother Lei, what were you doing just now?" Fan asked tentatively. "Did you find anything?" Charlotte shook his head. "No, I seem to have thought of something just now, but when I thought about it carefully, the inspiration disappeared." Fan frowned. "Really?" Charlotte smiled. "This place has been studied by the archaeologists many times, and they haven't found anything for more than 2 years. I've only been here for a while. What can I find?" "That's right. If there were any clues, the archaeologists would have found it a long time ago." Fan didn't actually suspect anything. She just felt that Charlotte's reaction was too strange. Let's go somewhere else." Charlotte walked to the entrance of the tomb. "Wait for me." Fan followed Charlotte's footsteps and left Princess Young Mei's tomb. Actually, after finding the clues hidden in the floor tiles, Charlotte could already leave this place, but he did not intend to do so. He had to go somewhere else. It was for no other reason than to give Fan and Fan Yiming a false impression that he had gained nothing from this trip. Why did he hide the clues hidden in the floor tiles? Because it was related to AE. In the following time, under Fan's guidance, Charlotte toured the other areas of the ancient tomb, namely the left and right burial areas. Although he knew that this ancient tomb was very big before he came, he was still very surprised after walking around because it was really too big. It was simply an underground palace. Just as Fan had said, this ancient tomb was next to the Unity Reservoir, and it was located underneath it. Therefore, there were many places that they did not dare to dig. There were already signs of water seeping in some places. If it wasn't for the ancient tomb's drainage system, this place would have been flooded. By the time they finished exploring the ancient tomb, 2 hours had already passed. Xia Lei and Fan left the ancient tomb and returned to the surface. The sun was blinding. The feeling of returning to the surface from the ancient tomb was very strange. It was like returning from the underworld to the world of the living. In front of a tent next to the ancient tomb, a few archaeologists were using tools to clean up some of the objects that they had dug out from the ancient tomb. When Charlotte and Fan came out of the ancient tomb, they stopped what they were doing and looked at Charlotte and Fan with strange eyes. Some of them were also discussing in low voices. "Isn't that the granddaughter of Fan Yiming, the dean of the Academy of Sciences? Why is she here again?" I heard she's an expert in bioengineering. I'm curious, why would a bioengineer come here for no reason? Yeah, and Fan Yiming, he's been here no less than 20 times, right? Why would a material scientist come here to join in the fun? The few archaeologists' discussion was very soft, but this place was very quiet. Charlotte's hearing was very sensitive, so he heard it. Charlotte's heart skipped a beat. Fan told me that she and her grandfather came here 3 times, but the archaeologists here said that Fan Yiming and her came here no less than 20 times. Why would she say that less? What is she trying to hide? The discussion of the archaeologists aroused Charlotte's suspicion and association. Initially, he felt guilty. After all, he had found the clues hidden under the floor tiles, but he did not tell Fan. Now that he had unintentionally heard that Fan Yiming and Fan had come here more than 20 times, but only 3 times, he no longer felt any guilt in his heart. Brother Lazy, let's go. Fan seemed worried that the archaeologists would miss something, so she urged Charlotte to leave. Charlotte was not in a hurry to leave. He pretended to turn back to look at the hill where the ancient tomb was, but he continued to listen to the archaeologists' discussion. Who is that young man? Could he be Fan Yiming's granddaughter's lover? Maybe he is. Young people these days love excitement. Dating in an ancient tomb must be very exciting. Let's not talk about these useless things. Let's discuss how to drain the water from the Unity Reservoir. It's been more than 2 years. We've explored all the places that should be explored. Only the places that have not been explored are left. We need to drain the water from the reservoir and develop the unexplored places. Who knows, we might really find Yongla's treasure. I'm sure that if Yongla's treasure is really here, we will definitely find it, and it will become another archaeological miracle. Yeah, the order from above has been given. They said that we need to finish the exploration by the end of this year. We need to discuss what to do. Yongla Inn is under the Unity Reservoir. It's a small town, and just the problem of drainage is already difficult. Are we going to blow up the dam and flush Yongla Inn away? We don't need to worry about that, do we? At most, we'll just move. Move? That's possible. Why don't we go by some houses in town and wait to move? On this side, Fan reached out and grabbed Charlotte's arm. Brother Lazy, let's go. It's already past noon, and we haven't had lunch yet. Let's go to Yongla Inn to eat something. I'm so hungry. She still didn't want Charlotte to listen to the archaeologist's discussion. She was indeed worried about something. Charlotte knew that, but he didn't expose her. There was no need to listen to the archaeologist's discussion anymore. He nodded and said with a smile, "Okay, it's my treat. What do you want to eat?" "Let's have Chinese food." "We can eat anything," Fan said. Charlotte followed Fan and left the way they came. As he walked, he was thinking, so the higher-ups are ready to completely excavate this place, but I didn't know about it. The higher-ups have decided to completely excavate this ancient tomb, but at the same time, they want me to join the Academy of Sciences and have Fan Yiming and Fan study me. It seems like some of the higher-ups can't wait any longer, and they might have guessed something. Whether it was completely excavating this ancient tomb or letting him join the Academy of Sciences and have Fan Yiming and Fan study him, it was all related to Project X Mystic Gold. If this ancient tomb wasn't the first hidden treasure, the higher-ups wouldn't have gone through so much trouble to excavate it, and they wouldn't have let a firearms and machinery manufacturer like him join the Academy of Sciences as an academician. All the signs indicated that this was a sign of impending danger. Charlotte also realized that this was a turning point in his life. If he handled it well, he would be able to usher in a new life. On the other hand, if he didn't handle it well, he would lose everything he had now. Unknowingly, they arrived at the muddy path again. Fan, who was walking in front, stopped and looked at the muddy path with depression. If I knew this would happen, I would have changed into a pair of sneakers. Charlotte put away his thoughts and said with a smile, Fan, let's do it like before. I'll carry you there. Or I can carry you there. Before Charlotte could touch Fan Fan subconsciously avoided him. Her face was also red, and she nervously said, let's not. I'll take off my shoes. She really did it. She took off her high heels and her stockings, and then stepped into the mud on the road with her bare feet. Isn't this fine? In fact, it's very comfortable to walk like this. Fan turned around and smiled, looking very proud. Charlotte also smiled at her, and then slowly walked behind her. His eyes stayed on Fan's sexy buttocks, and he secretly said in his heart, after all, she is a woman with a high IQ. This Fan is much more difficult to deal with than I thought. However, if I want to pass, I have to start with her. Only by taking her down can I have a chance to muddle through, and only then can I have a chance to make Fan Yiming hesitate. Okay, I am your target, and you are also my target. I will eat you up. Women in love can become stupid, and the natural maternal instinct of women will make them instinctively protect the people they love at some time. Charlotte wanted to pass this crisis. He wanted to pass. Facing a woman with a high IQ like Fan, the only way he could think of was to use his charm. This was not to obtain Fan's body, nor was it to obtain Fan's love, but to deal with the upcoming crisis. In fact, after divorcing with Shintu Tianyin, he would not easily give his true love to a woman. He deeply loved Liang Xiao, but Liang Xiao betrayed him. He deeply loved Shintu Tianyin, but Shintu Tianyin also betrayed him. When he gave his all to help her, she chose the Wanxiang group, and not him. The two women he deeply loved, in the end, brought him a heart-wrenching pain. After experiencing this pain, he matured and changed. Why can only women lie to him, but he can't lie to women? Aya! Fan cried out, her body swayed, and she almost fell into the mud. Charlotte quickly reached out to support her, and said gently, be careful, your butt is very sexy, but if you fall, it won't be beautiful. Fan's face turned red. You don't say that. Charlotte let go of her, and laughed. You are very beautiful, am I wrong? Fan bit her lips, but did not dare to look at Charlotte's eyes, and she walked with her head down. When her back was facing Charlotte, a faint smile appeared on the corner of her mouth. Chapter 6:18. In a small restaurant with a few home-cooked dishes, Charlotte and Fan's lunch was simple. Brother Lazy, let's start when we get back. Fan looked down at the table and said. Start what? Fan pursed her lips and smiled. You know what I'm talking about. I want to start my work as soon as possible. She was talking about the research on his body. Of course, Charlotte knew what she was talking about. He said, don't worry. Tomorrow or the day after. You know, I manage a company alone. There are a lot of things I need to deal with. Are you going back to the company? Fan's eyes flashed with a hint of disappointment. Yes, I have to go back to the company. Charlotte said. Then I'll go with you. You're going back with me. Charlotte looked at Fan and tried to guess her motives. Fan Ming grinned. Well, I want to take a look at your lab. Charlotte couldn't find a reason to refuse her, so he nodded. Well, we'll go to my company after lunch. You can see my lab, but you can't touch the ancient alloy. Well, okay, no problem. Fan looked very happy. At this time, a motorcycle slowly drove on the road outside the restaurant. The motorcycle was a very ordinary domestic motorcycle, and the rider was a sexy female rider with a slender waist and plump buttock. The female rider was wearing a helmet, so her face couldn't be seen. The female rider entered Charlotte's sight, and Charlotte suddenly thought of a person. It was his father Xia Changhe's subordinate Yelena. With this thought, his left eye twitched slightly. The glass window of the restaurant and the female rider's helmet disappeared from his sight in an instant. Under the female rider's helmet was a strange face, but Charlotte could tell at a glance that it was a delicate human skin mask. Who would appear here wearing a human skin mask? He didn't need to think about the answer, and he didn't need to use his X-ray vision to see the real face under the human skin mask to confirm the female rider's identity. She was Yelena. Charlotte wasn't surprised that Yelena appeared at this time. His father, Xia Changhe, was always there when he needed help the most, and now was exactly such a time. Yelena stopped the motorcycle by the roadside and got off. She walked across the street to a small supermarket. When she crossed the road, she turned back to look at Charlotte. She also turned her head in the direction of the minimart. This is a suggestive body language. Charlotte also got up and said, "Fan, wait for me here. I'm going to the supermarket across the street to buy something." Fan looked at Charlotte curiously. "We're eating. What are you buying at the supermarket?" Charlotte smiled and said, "I'm already full. I'm going to buy a box of xylitol. Isn't there an advertisement saying that chewing is healthier? I have a habit of chewing 2 tablets of xylitol after eating." "Go ahead. Please bring me a pack of tissues, thank you," Fan said. After all, she was just a scientific researcher. Although she was a woman with a high IQ, she wasn't a professional agent like Long Bing and Tang Yuyan. She wouldn't suspect Charlotte just because of his strange behavior. Well, no problem. Charlotte got up and left the restaurant. Charlotte quickly crossed the road and entered the minimart. He saw Yelena, who was selecting goods next to the shelves. He walked over and whispered, "Why are you here?" "It's because of you," Yelena said in Russian. "Your father is in the bathroom of this supermarket. Go quickly. You have a few minutes." Charlotte turned to leave, but Yelena grabbed him and put the shopping basket in her hand into Charlotte's hands. Charlotte was slightly stunned, but he quickly understood Yelena's intention. This was a minimart. If he didn't buy anything and just use the bathroom, the boss would definitely not be happy. She was indeed an experienced agent. She even noticed such a small detail. What surprised Charlotte was that Yelena even put xylitol in the shopping basket for him. When he walked to the cashier, Charlotte put a handful of tissues in the shopping basket. Charlotte carried the shopping basket to the cashier and put the shopping basket on the cashier. "Boss, how much is it?" "Okay, no problem." The boss began to scan the QR codes of the goods in the shopping basket. Charlotte said again, "Boss, where's the bathroom?" "I want to go to the bathroom." The boss pointed to the corridor behind him. "Go in from here, walk to the end, and you'll find the bathroom. Someone is repairing it, but it can still be used." "Thank you." Charlotte entered the corridor, walked along the corridor to the end, and then entered the bathroom. There was an old man dressed as a migrant worker in the bathroom. He was repairing the sink in the bathroom. There was a tool bag beside him, which was filled with things like hose pliers and hose connectors. It gave people a messy feeling. When Charlotte entered the bathroom, the old man stopped what he was doing and looked at Charlotte. Their eyes met. Charlotte's lips trembled, but he still called out, "Dad." This old man was none other than his father, Xia Changhe. Although Xia Changhe wore a leather mask on his face, he still recognized him at a glance. The father and son had met, but the place they met was in a bathroom like this. His heart was filled with mixed feelings. Xia Changhe hugged Charlotte. "Dad, why are you here?" Time was limited, so Charlotte went straight to the point. Xia Changhe let go of Charlotte and said, "I'm here to scold you." Charlotte was stunned on the spot. Xia Changhe's face became serious, and there was a trace of anger in his eyes. "Why did you take the blame for Shintu Tianyin? Do you know that you helped her? Those people at the top have an excuse to attack you." "You know?" Charlotte was surprised. "Don't forget what your father does," Xia Changhe said coldly. "The Americans want to catch you, and so does the FA organization. Their purpose is to study you. Do you think China's intelligence agencies and think tanks are all vegetarians? I can tell you with certainty that when it comes to intelligence and espionage, China is one of the best in the world, no worse than the former Soviet Union. Think about it, the CIA wants to send you to the AE Research Center in Area 51 for research, and the FA organization also wants to catch you and study you. Why doesn't anyone here want to do the same? Charlotte had the secret of AE and had abilities beyond human beings. His evolution was simply a miracle. These factors, no matter which one, can make people crazy. Who didn't want to copy his magic? Who didn't want to copy his magic? If you don't take the blame for Shintutianin, your credit will be feared. But now that you've used up the credit that you've worked so hard to build up, some people took advantage of the situation and launched a plan against you. I thought their plan would have to be delayed, and you would have made preparations at that time, but you actually… Xia Changhe let out a sigh, as if he was exasperated at his failure to live up to his expectations. Charlotte smiled bitterly. Dad, she is my wife. I knew her. She didn't want me to be the scapegoat. If I don't help her, she may die. I can't bear to see her end like this. After all, I also loved her. Before you and I got married, I concluded that your marriage would not last. Son, don't you understand that people like you and I are destined not to live like ordinary people in this life? You can't marry a wife, and you can't have children because you can never guarantee their safety. Dad, you are right. I am now divorced, and I will not marry any woman again. Charlotte said. Forget it, it has already happened, and I don't want to talk to you anymore. Xia Changhe said, I got some information. As far as I know, Fan Yiming and Fan Fan were commissioned by the ZN Bureau to start a research plan against you. ZN Bureau? Charlotte was stunned. This was the first time he had heard of such a strange organization. Yes, ZN Bureau, the code name for AI. Xia Changhe said, the ZN Bureau is no less mysterious than the Skull and Bones Society in America. Have you heard of the legend of the Skull and Bones Society? Charlotte nodded. I've heard a little. The members of the Skull and Bones Society even control the fate of America. Xia Changhe said, although this statement is a bit exaggerated, it is the truth. This world is controlled by a small number of elites, and all the rules are set by them. Although the nature of the ZN Bureau is different from the Skull and Bones Society, I can be sure that it is the most mysterious organization here. I have used all the resources I have, and I only know that the plan against you was initiated by the ZN Bureau, and the relevant personnel were also selected by the ZN Bureau. Once Fan Yiming and Fan Fan grasp the evolution of your body, there is no doubt that you will face an even more radical plan. At that time, not to mention everything you have now, I'm afraid you will even lose your freedom. Charlotte couldn't help but smile bitterly. Right now, he was only a guest lab rat, but at that time, he would probably be a professional lab rat. Once things developed to that point, it was no longer something he could control, and it wasn't something he could resolve by making great contributions, because he had a secret that could change the entire human race. Son, Fan Yiming might know something about the ZN Bureau, but I don't dare to contact him. If there is a chance, you have to dig out information from him, Xia Changhe said. I know what to do. I will start with his granddaughter. Xia Changhe glared at Charlotte. Are you serious with her? Haven't you been deceived enough by women? You really make me lose face. Charlotte's face inexplicably turned red. Xia Changhe's eyes moved to Charlotte's neck and said, I know you have the last E-capsule. Your plan is to decipher its secret before deciding whether to take it or not. I understand your decision. However, this time the situation is very special. In case Fan Fan and Fan Yiming learn your secret, you can consider taking the last AE capsule in advance. Charlotte said, I understand what you mean, I will consider it. In addition, I found a clue in the first treasure location, a clue about AE. What clue? Xia Changhe looked at Charlotte in surprise. Charlotte moved closer to Xia Changhe's ear and whispered something. Xia Changhe's mouth was slightly open, and he couldn't close it. A few minutes later, Charlotte left the supermarket and returned to the restaurant. Fan Fan had already finished her lunch, and was sitting at the table waiting for him. "Why did you leave for so long?" "I didn't bring my wallet, and the boss thought you left me here." Charlotte smiled and said, "If I left a beautiful woman like you here to avoid paying the bill, then I would be the biggest fool in the world." Fan Fan's face quietly turned red. Which woman doesn't like men calling her beautiful? Not to mention a man like Charlotte. Chapter 6:19. Back at the Thunder Horse Army Factory, Charlotte brought Fan Fan directly to the villa. There were 2 Special Forces guards standing at the entrance of the villa. Charlotte didn't say anything and walked straight in. "Stop!" A Special Forces guard stopped Fan Fan. Charlotte then said, "She's from the Academy of Sciences. There's no problem." Such a sentence obviously couldn't let Fan Fan in, and Charlotte did it on purpose. However, it wasn't because he didn't want Fan Fan to enter his laboratory. He wanted to see what kind of authority Fan Fan had. Or rather, what kind of authority did the ZN Bureau give Fan Fan? Sure enough, the Special Forces guard who stopped Fan Fan said, "Mr. Xia, only you can go in. She can't." Charlotte pretended to be troubled. "This. Can't you make an exception?" The Special Forces guard was expressionless. "I'm sorry, Mr. Xia. No means no." At this moment, Fan Fan took out a red pass from her handbag and handed it to the Special Forces guard who stopped her. The Special Forces guard's expression changed when he saw the red pass in his hand. This change didn't escape Charlotte's eyes. His gaze also moved to the red pass. His left eye twitched slightly, and he had already seen the contents of the pass before the Special Forces guard. He saw a gilded national emblem, the handwritten words "Special Access," and the name Fan Fan. Other than that, there was nothing else on the pass. The guard opened the pass and took a brief look at it. Then, he returned it to Fan Fan with both hands and said politely, "Miss, you can go in now." Fan Fan put away the red pass and smiled at Charlotte. "All right, that's enough. Let's go in." Charlotte nodded and then led Fan Fan into the villa. On the surface, there was no reaction, but Charlotte was still confused. Even the special pass issued by 101 innings isn't so awesome. Just a few handwritten words can get a high-level pass. Could it be that these Special Forces guards have been informed by their superiors to let people with this kind of pass? In this case, Fan Fan and Fan Yiming could enter his laboratory without his permission. Also, was this red special pass given to Fan Fan by the mysterious ZN Bureau? "I didn't expect you to have a villa here." Fan Fan interrupted Charlotte's thoughts. "Who lives here?" Charlotte said, "Only Anina used to live here. She was the chief engineer of the Thunder Horse military factory, but now she has returned to Germany, so no one lives here except for me, who occasionally stays here for one night." "Can I have a room?" "You want a room?" Charlotte looked surprised. Fan Fan said, "I am your assistant. Before the X-Secret Gold project is conquered, I have to follow you. In addition to assisting you in your research, I also have my own work to do. I will definitely work late in the future, so I want a room." "Okay, you can choose any room here." Charlotte readily agreed. He couldn't avoid Fan Fan as his assistant, and he also had a plan to take her down, so he was eager for her to live here. As they chatted, Charlotte took Fan Fan to the underground laboratory below the villa. The ancient alloy and the bronze treasure book were stored in a safe, and there was also a special anti-radiation container. As long as she didn't open the safe and take out the ancient alloy, Fan Fan wouldn't be in danger. "This is my laboratory. You can look around," Charlotte said. Fan Fan looked around and frowned slightly. "It's so simple. Can you study the ancient alloy?" Charlotte's laboratory was indeed very simple. There was no advanced and complicated experimental equipment. Even if there was, it was just some simple equipment for show. He had never used it at all. He had always been following his own path in deciphering the secrets of the ancient alloy, not the path of scientific analysis and research. Although he had never used those equipment, Charlotte smiled and said, "Don't underestimate these simple equipment. They are a great help. All the research I've done before is based on them." Fan was obviously not interested in those simple equipment. Her eyes moved to the large and strong safe. She tentatively said, "Brother Lazy, are the ancient alloy and the bronze treasure book in there?" Charlotte said, "Yes, it's in there. I really want to see it." Charlotte said, "That won't do. Have you forgotten those researchers who went crazy or died? You're so young and beautiful. If you go crazy or die, your grandfather and your parents will be very sad." "Well, I'll be very sad too." Fan's cheeks quietly blushed again. "You're very good at coaxing girls. There must be a lot of women who like you, right?" Xiaolei said, "You're wrong. I'm not good at coaxing women. If I were good at coaxing women, my wife wouldn't have divorced me." "I'm sorry," Fan said apologetically. Charlotte shrugged. "It's okay. It's all in the past." After a pause, he said, "Let me show you the room." "No, I want to stay here for a while." Fan walked to the safe. Charlotte didn't stop her. Without his password, she couldn't open the safe. And he didn't think she had the courage to do so. In fact, no matter how much pressure he faced this time, Charlotte could still maintain a calm state of mind. He relied on the ancient alloy. In this world, only he could touch the ancient alloy. Anyone other than him would die. Just based on this point, whoever wanted to touch him would have to consider this point first. Fan walked to the safe and quietly looked at it. She murmured, "It's amazing. Although I can't see it, I can still feel its existence. Do you know? I think it's a treasure, and you're the key to this treasure." Fan's unintentional words made Charlotte's heart sink. She compared him to the key to the treasure of the ancient alloy. Princess Yongmei called him the only one. Was this a coincidence, or was it fate? "Brother Lazy, have you ever wondered why only you can touch the ancient alloy?" Fan looked back at Charlotte. At this time, her eyes were full of wisdom, with the power of insight. Charlotte pretended to be relaxed and smiled. "Of course I have thought about it. I think it's because I fixed the compass. Perhaps it has some intelligence and recognized me as a friend." "Bah, are you writing a novel?" Fan snorted at Charlotte's statement. "You're now an academician of the Academy of Sciences. You can't say such words from your mouth. I don't believe it's because of this reason." A woman with a high IQ was really difficult to deal with. With the same argument, Charlotte had fooled a lot of people, but not her. Charlotte was silent for a moment before saying, "Perhaps there are other reasons, but I don't know. If you know, can you tell me?" "I don't know, that's why I'm studying you," Fan said. Charlotte smiled. Don't worry. Let's go see the room first." After leaving the underground laboratory, Xiaolei brought Fan to the second floor and brought her to the room next to the one he usually stayed in. Every room in this villa was decorated according to the standard of a 5-star hotel. It was luxurious and well-equipped. "How is it? Do you like it?" Charlotte asked. "I like it. It's very comfortable here. Let's start." Fan said. "What should we start?" Charlotte looked at Fan in surprise. Fan's expression suddenly became a bit embarrassed. Her words became hesitant. "Brother Lazy, I'll trouble you to take off your clothes." Charlotte was shocked. He suspected that he heard wrong. "I want to start my work now." "Now? Now. There's no equipment here. What can you study?" Charlotte said. "Your body." Fan gathered her courage. "I want to see your body and take pictures of you. This is the first step of my work. I don't need any equipment. I have a phone and it can take pictures. In addition, whether you're willing or not, I want to touch your body and do a physical examination." "Charlotte, take it off, Fan urged. No matter the occasion, no matter the time, the first thing that came to her mind was her work. taking off his clothes and letting a woman observe, take pictures, and even touch his body, forget about doing it, even thinking about it made Charlotte feel embarrassed. But he had to cooperate with Fanfan's work. This was the most basic examination. If he played tricks and refused, it would easily arouse the suspicion of the ZN Bureau, which was not wise. If he wanted to cheat, he had to cheat at the most critical moment. You can think of me as a doctor. No need to be embarrassed. Although she said it was not awkward, Fanfan's face was already very red. Charlotte didn't say anything, but he responded with his actions. He quickly took off his shirt and pants, then his shoes and socks. Finally, he stood in front of Fanfan with only a pair of brief. Take that off too. Fanfan pointed at the little bit of fabric on Charlotte's body. One day, I'll strip you naked too, Charlotte secretly said in his heart. Then, he grabbed the elastic band of the fabric and pulled it down. At that moment, it was like a tiger coming out of its cage. Fanfan seemed to have been triggered. She subconsciously closed her eyes and was so nervous that her eyelashes were trembling. However, she quickly recovered. She opened her eyes and stared straight at Charlotte's body. Charlotte's left eye twitched slightly. In an instant, all the fabric on Fanfan's body disappeared. He couldn't suffer this kind of loss. Fanfan looked at his body and he also had to look at it. It was only fair that both of them had no clothes. Although Fanfan didn't know this. Fanfan circled around Charlotte 3 times before returning to Charlotte. She exclaimed, I have seen a lot of people's bodies, but I have never seen a body like yours. Your body is very well proportioned. It's unimaginably well proportioned. Your muscle lines are beautiful and at the same time, full of strength. Have you seen the Roman discus thrower? His body is considered to be the most perfect body, but compared to yours, there is still a gap. And have you seen a lot of men's bodies? Charlotte asked casually. Only when he spoke did he not feel so embarrassed. Yes, when I was in school, I saw a lot of volunteer models. Later, when I worked, I also saw some models, but they were paid. Fanfan said. Do you blush when you look at their bodies? I won't blush. Why should I blush? Then why are you blushing now? Fanfan. Chapter 620. Fanfan's goal was to study him, and his goal was to destroy Fanfan's research. Fanfan couldn't wait to start her work, so he had to enter the state of interfering with her in time. Although this was only a probing interference, it had its own significance. This would be an interesting battle. Charlotte would break through her defense bit by bit, and finally completely occupy her position. Click, 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 click. The simulated electronic flash on the mobile phone kept flashing, and Charlotte's body appeared on Fanfan's mobile phone screen. Front, back, top, bottom, all parts of his body were photographed without any concealment. Fanfan's face also became redder and redder. After taking the most important parts of Charlotte's body, there was no place on her face that wasn't red. What's the use of taking these photos? Charlotte asked. I will use these photos to create a file, and then use software to make a 3-dimensional image. Of course, later on, I will add photos of your organs, but there is no equipment here, so I can't do it. I can only wait for next time. Fanfan said as she put away her mobile phone. Charlotte said with a smile, You have to protect these photos. Don't leak them. You can look at them alone, but don't let others see them. I am doing this for work. I won't look at your photos for no reason. Fanfan looked a little nervous, and then she said, I'm going to touch your body now. Don't be nervous. I'm not nervous at all. But you look very nervous. What are you nervous about? I'm not nervous. I'm not nervous. Fanfan was not only a little nervous, but also a little flustered. Charlotte opened his arms, looking very natural. I'm ready. You can touch anywhere you want. Don't say that. I don't want to talk to you anymore. Fanfan really shut her mouth. She circled around to Charlotte's back. Starting from the back of his head, she used her hands to slowly move downwards. Her fingers slid over his neck, shoulders, back, waist, hips. When she touched Charlotte's buttocks, the rouge on Fanfan's face was so thick that it couldn't melt. She was a woman with a special physique. Her body would have a very, very sensitive reaction after being touched, so Charlotte had only carried her for a short distance, and she had already reached a very pleasant state. What she was doing now was like a double-edged sword. When she touched Charlotte's body was also touching her in disguise. With her special physique, it was impossible for her not to be excited. Whenever she was excited, that reaction would quietly grow and bring her flying in that direction. "Fan, what's wrong with my butt?" It was Charlotte's voice. No problem." Fan was startled by Charlotte. "Then why are your hands still on my butt? Are you looking for something?" "I don't want to talk to you." Fan shut her mouth in a huff. Her hands also left Charlotte's buttocks and began to touch his legs. A trace of a smile appeared on the corner of Charlotte's mouth. Fan was an extremely intelligent woman. She wasn't easy to fool, but she also had a fatal weakness, and that was her special physique. Now that he thought about it, this should be Fanfan's secret. If he hadn't carried her while walking in Yongla's shop, and she had such a pleasant reaction, he wouldn't have known this secret. "Fan, your body is very special. Does your grandfather know about this?" Charlotte probed. "Why are you asking me this?" Fanfan's hands stopped on Charlotte's ankle. Charlotte said, "I'm just asking. I'm just concerned about you." "How could I tell my grandfather about such an embarrassing thing? You're the first person to know this secret." Fan remembered what happened at Yongla's shop. She was inexplicably raised by him. Every time she thought about this, she felt very embarrassed. "So Fan Yiming doesn't know. That's good." The smile on the corner of Charlotte's mouth became more obvious. If Fan Yiming didn't know, then the people from the ZN Bureau definitely didn't know. Otherwise, the ZN Bureau and Fan Yiming definitely wouldn't have sent Fan to be responsible for such an important task. Fan went around to Charlotte's front. Her eyes moved to Charlotte's something. Suddenly, she screamed and covered her eyes with her hands. At that moment, she felt like she was bitten by a snake. However, she quickly recovered. She stared at Charlotte angrily and angrily said, How could you do this?" Charlotte had an innocent expression. "I took off my clothes according to your instructions. Just now, you touched my body all over and pinched here and there. I'm a normal man. Is it strange for me to have such a reaction?" Fan looked at that hideous place and was speechless. However, she couldn't find any words to refute Charlotte. Fan, didn't you say that you've seen a lot of men's bodies? Don't they have such a reaction?" Charlotte continued to interfere with Fan's work. "Those mannequins aren't as bad as you. Okay, I won't talk to you anymore." Fan entered her work mode again. Her pair of soft hands started from Charlotte's head and went all the way down. She touched here and there and pinched there. "What can you find by checking like this?" Charlotte began to speak again. "I'm checking the elasticity of your skin and the reaction of your muscles." Fan had said more than once that she wouldn't talk to Charlotte, but she still couldn't help but talk to Charlotte. "Then what did you find?" "You're a big pervert." Charlotte was speechless. Fan's hand moved to Charlotte's lower abdomen. His lower abdomen was a very strange place. Not only did it have 8 hard abdominal muscles, but it also had white and tender skin. There were many men with 8 abdominal muscles, but there were no abdominal muscles like Charlotte. Charlotte's 8 abdominal muscles were like cheese. They were very delicious. They were the abdominal muscles of an aristocrat. As her fingers slid across the hard and tender abdominal muscles, Fan's fingers trembled slightly. On the front of Charlotte, her sensitivity was obviously stronger. "You won't check there, right?" Charlotte was actually very nervous. His nerves were actually very sensitive because of what Fan was doing. He needed a lot of effort to control the impulse in his body. If Fanfan's invasion of him continued or became even more intense, he might not be able to control himself and do something to her. Don't let your imagination run wild. Fanfan's voice trembled slightly. This is work. It's not what you think. I have to complete my inspection. I can't miss any place. You really want to? Before Charlotte could finish his words, his mouth became silent. His brows were also wrinkled and couldn't be relaxed. Don't let your imagination run wild. Fanfan nervously warned Charlotte while carrying out her inspection work. Charlotte bit his lips with his teeth and used that little bit of pain to suppress the impulse in his body. He secretly said in his heart, "Just you wait, I'll let you have a taste of this." What is this? Fanfan seemed to have discovered something. She bent down and buried her head. She moved closer to that area and looked very carefully. The hot air that came out of her mouth and nose swept over the sensitive area. At this moment, Charlotte couldn't help but want to bang his head against the wall. "Charlotte!" Suddenly, Long Bing's voice came from outside the villa. Charlotte and Fanfan were both nervous at the same time. In their panic, there was actually an awkward and intimate contact. You. Fanfan covered her face. She was extremely embarrassed, but she couldn't say anything to scold Charlotte. She was the one who moved over. How could she blame Charlotte? "Hurry up," Charlotte urged. Long Bing also had the authority to come in. If she suddenly came in and saw this scene, who knew what she would think? I'm fine. Fanfan also seemed to be afraid of being seen. After all, this was a room and not a laboratory. It was very easy for people to misunderstand. Hearing that she was fine, Charlotte let out a sigh of relief. He hastily put on his clothes. Then, he didn't care about Fanfan and strode out the door. Once Charlotte left the villa, Long Bing said, "Let's go for a walk in the mountains." Charlotte was stunned. "Go for a walk in the mountains? Don't ask. Let's go." Long Bing didn't care whether Charlotte agreed or not. She strode towards the back door of the villa. Charlotte felt strange. She came all the way here just to go for a walk in the mountains with him? This wasn't Long Bing's style. She must have something to talk to him about. Thinking like this, Charlotte also followed Long Bing to the back door. Perhaps it was because the impulse in his body hadn't disappeared. His eyes uncontrollably stayed on Long Bing's sexy butt. His eyes were full of excitement and desire. "That Fanfan from the Academy of Science is also here?" Long Bing casually asked. Charlotte said, "Yes, she wants to live here." "She wants to live here?" Long Bing turned around and looked at Charlotte. Charlotte smiled bitterly. "I also have no choice. I was just about to tell you that I've encountered trouble." "What trouble?" "This time, it's not a good thing for me to join the Academy of Science. Fan Yiming and Fanfan actually came for me." "What's going on?" Charlotte thought for a moment before saying, "I'm the only person who can come into contact with the ancient alloy. Fan Yiming and Fanfan regard me as the key to unlocking the secret of the ancient alloy. They are here to study me." Long Bing suddenly frowned. "How can they do this to you? Too much. Whose idea is this? Have you heard of the Zien Bureau?" Long Bing's expression suddenly changed. She wanted to say something but stopped. "You haven't heard of it?" "No, I've heard of it, but I've never seen it or come into contact with anyone from that agency." Charlotte was a little disappointed. Even a person like Long Bing had never come into contact with people from the Zien Bureau. One could imagine how mysterious the Zien Bureau was. Long Bing said, "You don't have to worry. I'll go back and talk to Boss Sure about this. They can't do this to you. If my influence isn't enough, I'll ask Tang Yuyan to help you. She has the Tang sect behind her, so her influence is much greater than mine. Moreover, she will definitely be willing to help you." Charlotte shook his head. "No need. It's useless even if Boss Sure intercedes on this matter. In fact, it's nothing. I can handle it. You don't have to worry about it. By the way, you didn't ask me to take a walk with you, did you? What's the matter? Tell me. Long Bing said, let's go into the mountain first. Chapter 6:21. The corner of Long Bing's mouth suddenly revealed a smile. No wonder so many women like you. You are a man who values friendship and righteousness. Shintu Tianin betrayed you, yet you are still able to understand her, and even bear the blame for her. Liang Xiao also betrayed you, but you are still willing to help her. I think it's a blessing for them to get to know you. I don't know, it depends. Seeing her smile, Charlotte breathed a sigh of relief. He asked softly, you said it's their blessing to meet me. What about you? Her patriotism was really above everything else. Stealing a heart. Charlotte looked at him speechlessly. What are you talking about? She is from the Academy of Sciences. She is the granddaughter of Fan Yiming, the president of the Academy of Sciences. Her name is Fan Fan. Oh, now you are chasing after high-end girls. Qin Xiang raised her thumb and middle finger. When you do it with her, will she call out some formula or theorem? I'm sorry, Bing I. Charlotte didn't know how to explain. He actually had his own difficulties. After all, Liang Xiao was a senior member of the CIB, and she was in a relationship with him. He couldn't just casually say it without waiting for the right opportunity. If he did that, not only would he not be able to help Liang Xiao, but he would also be in a passive position. She is not an ordinary woman. Money and vanity are not attractive to women like her. It won't be easy to conquer her heart. Charlotte, I can't care about Gu Qian for now. What else did Liang Xiao say? I won't let that happen either. Xia Lei had a smile on his face, but his heart was filled with bitterness. Are you really going to chase after her? Do you still need to go through so much trouble to chase after girls? Just take her to a hotel. The forest in early summer was not quiet. Some birds were chirping in the treetops. It was as if they were conducting an election. They needed a bird with both virtue and talent to lead their flock. A gust of wind blew past, shaking the branches. The birds were frightened and flapped their wings to fly away. Charlotte was not surprised by her answer. After all, she was the most patriotic person he had ever met. She dedicated her youth, her everything to this country. What she believed in and defended were the interests of this country. It would be very unfair for her to give up or even betray these. You can't tell anyone about this. Charlotte smiled. I'm just asking casually and making a hypothesis. If that really happens, tell me, whose side are you on? How is it? I just want to see how you do it. That's why I'm here. I'll listen to you. You decide. But she lost to you. Okay, don't worry. Qin Xiang's hand fell on Charlotte's shoulder. I can help you, but I have a condition. What are you going to do? Okay, I'll help you. I really have nothing to do these days. Tell me, what do you want me to steal for you? Okay, I'll listen to you. You should also think about this. Even if the ZN Bureau gave Fan Yiming and Fan Fan instructions to study you, it's for the X-Secret Gold Project and for the interests of this country. It's not targeting you personally, Long Bing said. Charlotte and Long Bing became the only humans in this forest. Their conversation here would not be heard by others. This seemed to be the reason why Long Bing insisted on talking about this after entering the mountain. Long Bing looked up at Charlotte with suspicion and confusion in her eyes. Why do you ask me this? Long Bing stopped on a soft patch of grass in the forest and looked at Charlotte. Liang Xiao contacted me. Long Bing said. She said she is no longer the Asia director of the CIB, and Gu Qian replaced her. This operation against Shintu Tianin was directed by Gu Qian. She did this to prove her strength to the CIB's senior management. Gu Qian used the resources left behind by the Gu family. As you can see, although she is not here, she can still stir up trouble. It's because she came at the right time. A colleague who likes to speculate in stocks said that the stock of the Wanxiang Group has risen, but he sold all the stock of the Wanxiang Group on the day of Shintu Tianin's accident. Charlotte bit the bullet and said, "Whether it's official or personal, I support her. My opinion is to help her." Charlotte smiled bitterly. "Okay, she actually met with me before. She told me that she is going to defect from the CIB. She asked me to talk to you about it and help her build a bridge. I have been waiting for a suitable opportunity to talk to you about this, but before I could say anything, something happened to Shintu Tianin. You can talk to Boss Shi about Liang Xiao. Don't talk about Fan Yiming and Fan Fan. I will find a way to solve it myself." Charlotte said. "I will talk to Boss Shi about Liang Xiao." "Are you sure you don't want me to talk to him about Fan Yiming and Fan Fan?" Long Bing lay in Charlotte's arms. She looked very comfortable and peaceful. Her voice was also soft and seductive. The grass was very soft and could bear the fiercest love. "Probably. She used to be a senior member of the CIB. The things she knows are very valuable to us. Just based on this, Boss Shi will be moved. I am your woman. What can't you tell me? If you are in trouble, you should let me share it with you." Long Bing's eyes showed a trace of anger. It was a simple sentence, but it gave Xia Lei a fright. He froze for a moment before saying, "When did this happen?" "I saw you bring back a girl." Qin Xiang went straight to the point. "You arranged for her to stay in the villa. Even I can't enter that place. Anina went back to Germany. Don't tell me you found someone to replace her? If that is the case, you are really too bad. Go to hell. If you have nothing better to do, I want to ask you for a favor." Charlotte said. "Now? If she contacts you, what do you plan to do?" "Go, I will go to your house now." Long Bing thought about it seriously. Then she shook her head. "I don't know. I will not allow this to happen." "What did she tell you?" Charlotte asked. Charlotte said, "Her first condition is understandable, but the second condition, can Boss Shi satisfy her? What do you think?" Long Bing's eyes seemed to be able to see through Charlotte's heart. Long Bing suddenly got into Charlotte's arms and said emotionally, "I am not as stupid as them. If I had to face their choice, I would choose you. You are mine, and you will be mine in the future." Long Bing said, "An hour ago you were the first person to know about it." She looked straight at Charlotte. "Don't you have anything to say to me? In fact, when I saw your master Liang Zhengchun at the wedding of you and Shintu Tianin, I suspected that Liang Xiao had some plans. Otherwise, she would not have let her father return to China. My people have been keeping an eye on Liang Zhengchun, but Liang Xiao did not appear. Shintu Tianin started the expansion plan of the Thunder Horse Arms Factory when he went to Germany. These plans had been in progress, and he had to deal with some things personally. In addition, he had promised Sherborne that he would turn Rainmetal's technology into a real product, so he needed to do it personally. Charlotte suddenly turned over and pressed her under him. Long Bing moaned, and she realized what Charlotte was talking about. "Are you still going to my house tonight?" Charlotte's head ached and his scalp was numb. If Liang Xiao wanted to come back and serve the country, he would definitely support her. However, once she came back, and if Sherborne met her conditions, then he and the 3 female section chiefs of 101 innings would be entangled. Moreover, Long Bing asked him to make the decision on this matter. If he did not help Liang Xiao, his conscience would not be able to live with it. And if he helped, would Long Bing think that he and Liang Xiao still had feelings for each other? Charlotte rolled his eyes at Qin Xiang. "I'm not joking with you. Fan Fan will be living here for a while. Help me keep an eye on her, see who she contacts, what she does, and so on. In addition, help me keep an eye on what she likes and dislikes. These are very important to me." "No, why did you mention her? Let's not talk about these unpleasant things. By the way, has Shintu Tianin contacted you?" The passion subsided, and the two gradually quieted down. Such moving words, and her soft and hot body, all her beauty was in front of his eyes, and also in his arms. The flame that was ignited by Fan Fan burned wildly again, and it was even more intense. Charlotte could no longer suppress the impulse. He kissed Long Bing's lips, and then couldn't wait to press her down on the grass. She asked me to talk to Mr. Sher. She wants to join 101 innings. She has some conditions for me to convey to Mr. Sher. First of all, she wants immunity. There can't be any prosecution or conviction against her here. Second, she wants the same position as me and Tang Yuyan. If these two conditions are met, she will return to China and join 101 innings. This was actually not an if, but something that would eventually happen. The ancient alloy and password represented national interests, and it was an extraordinary interest, but this interest was bound to change Charlotte's life, or even destroy him. At that time, when the conflict reached a critical point and she needed to make a decision, what would she choose? Would she choose to defend the interests of the country, or choose him? After sending Long Bing away, Charlotte didn't go to the villa to find Fan Fan. He went to the office alone. Charlotte was like a beast, but Long Bing was like a collar around his neck. No matter how Charlotte ran and crashed, he couldn't escape her imprisonment. When you do it with her, how about taking a video of me secretly? Charlotte smiled bitterly. Me? I may not be that important to her, the Wanxiang group is the most important to her. Get lost. After dealing with a few business matters, Qin Xiang appeared in Charlotte's office. Charlotte kissed her forehead and said softly, Bing, if one day I have a conflict with the interests of the country, which side will you stand on? What? Qin Xiang looked at Charlotte with a strange look. Are you sick? If I act like this, do you want me to steal a woman's heart or a man's heart? I think you might as well steal my heart. It was really troublesome. Charlotte sighed and said, Tianyin is very good at these operations. The stock price itself was shorted by her. I estimate that her current shareholding ratio is close to 70%. When the market value of the Wanxiang Group recovers, her net worth will rise again. She won. Chapter 622. Under Charlotte's operation, the Thunder Horse Army factory entered a state of comprehensive upgrade. New land, new factory area, new workshops, and supporting facilities directly entered the construction stage. On the other hand, the required equipment also entered the procurement period. The purchasers of the Thunder Horse Army factory flew to Russia and Ukraine for inspection, placing orders, and adding bricks and tiles to the production line for artillery and tank. The equipment purchased from Russia and Ukraine was obviously not comparable to the equipment of Rainmetal, but after these equipment were purchased, Charlotte would upgrade them. The equipment upgraded by him was not something that Rainmetal's equipment could compare to. This was his plan to build the production line for artillery, tanks, and defense systems as quickly as possible. In Charlotte's plan, the most important part was naturally a more powerful integrated intelligent machine tool. He would once again improve the performance of the new machine tool on the basis of the Thunder Dragon intelligent machine tool. The new machine tool would double the weight and size of the Thunder Dragon intelligent machine tool, and the overall performance would be twice that of the Thunder Dragon intelligent machine tool. Charlotte named it Thunder Dragon Intelligent Machine Tool Second Generation. It played a role similar to the heart of the new production system. As soon as the upgrade plan of the Thunder Horse Army factory was launched, Charlotte began to build the second generation of the Thunder Dragon Intelligent Machine Tool. Charlotte plunged into work, and Fan Fan did not force him to cooperate with her to do any research. She did not even ask him to go to the Academy of Science. Charlotte was not surprised by such a reaction. The Thunder Dragon Intelligent Machine Tool was already the most advanced intelligent machine tool in the world, and what he was doing was to build the second generation of the Thunder Dragon Intelligent Machine Tool, which was more advanced and more powerful. This was a treasure that couldn't be bought with money. Even if the people of the ZN Bureau wanted to settle their matter as soon as possible, the military would probably intervene. Therefore, in the face of the comprehensive upgrade of the Thunder Horse Army Factory and the second generation of the Thunder Dragon intelligent machine tool, everything else had to give way. However, Charlotte knew that this was just a delay. He did not get out of trouble. Once the Thunder Horse Army Factory completed the comprehensive upgrade and the second generation of the Thunder Dragon intelligent machine tool was born, his trouble would return to him. During this time, Charlotte took root in a new workshop every day to build the second generation of Lei Long smart machine tool. Qin Xiang also appeared in this new workshop every day to bring him some information. She seems to be afraid of spicy food. Even if there is a piece of chili in the dish, she will pick it out. In the evening, before Charlotte finished his work, Qin Xiang came to the new workshop of the second-generation smart machine tool, breeding Charlotte. Charlotte wiped the sweat on his face with a towel and looked at Qin Xiang with a gloomy expression. Yesterday, she said that she had a stomach problem and went to the bathroom 6 times. Today, she said that she's afraid of spicy food. Bro, is that all you're capable of? Qin Xiang rolled her eyes at Charlotte. You are in the factory and so is she. What kind of information can I get in such a big place? If you can do it, then go ahead. I'll help you make the machine. Charlotte was speechless. Qin Xiang suddenly giggled. Forget it. I won't keep you in suspense. I've been monitoring her for a week. Today, I finally had the chance to put a bug on her body. Before I came here, she called her grandfather, Fan Yiming. She described some things about you and her work to Fan Yiming. What did she describe? About you. She said that your body is the most perfect body she has ever seen. Did you show her your body? Qin Xiang's eyes glanced at Charlotte's body. Charlotte was a little embarrassed. Stop fooling around. Let's get down to business. Well, in addition to your body, there are also some things about your habits. For example, what kind of food you like to eat, what kind of things you're sensitive to, etc. I can see that she has been observing you, and she's observing you very carefully. How did she describe her work to Fan Yiming? Qin Xiang said. This part is very simple. She said that she has created a file and some 3D images. I don't know much about it. In addition, she mentioned that she needs equipment today and urged Fan Yiming to send it to her. Charlotte's heart sank. Fan wanted equipment from Fan Yiming. Obviously, she wanted to set up her laboratory here. If that was the case, even if he was carrying out the comprehensive upgrade of the Thunder Horse Army Factory, he could still carry out her research. What will come will come. He couldn't avoid it. Anything else? Yes. Qin Xiang smiled. You said that you want to take her down. But after my observation, I found that it's very difficult. Charlotte frowned slightly. What did you find? I found that no matter if it's a man or a woman, no matter who accidentally touched her, she would be very disgusted and have a very strong reaction. Just this afternoon, Ryu Youngnam accidentally touched her in the stairwell. As a result, she glared at him and almost got angry at him. Then, I deliberately touched her on behalf of a woman. She also almost got angry at me. You can't represent a woman, okay? Charlotte smiled. Humph. I'm ignoring you. Qin Xiang seemed to be angry and turned to leave. Charlotte was in a daze alone in the new workshop. He was thinking about what Qin Xiang said about Fan. Ryu Youngnam can be considered a handsome man. He is also the type that women like. No matter what woman he accidentally touched, that woman would not be disgusted by him, right? But Fan is disgusted by him. Is it really that Qin Xiang is like that? No matter who touches her, she will be disgusted? But, not only did I touch her, I also hugged her. Not only did she not feel disgusted, but she also had that kind of exaggerated reaction. Am I an exception? She does not dislike me touching her? Or is it because of some other reason? Even God would find it hard to give an answer to this kind of thing. His super brain can calculate deep and complex problems, but it can't solve this simple problem. Charlotte stayed in the new workshop for a while and then left. He walked around the old factory area and was about to walk to the villa when Lu Xing ran over from the direction of the gate. Chairman Xia. Lu Xing called from afar, "Please wait." Xia lay stopped in his tracks. When he looked at Lu Xing, he saw a container truck parked outside the gate. "Chairman Xia, there's a car outside the gate. It said it's to deliver something to Miss Fan. I asked him what it is and he said it's research equipment." Lu Xing said, "I don't understand the situation, so I came to ask you. Qin Xiang just said that Fan Fan wanted the equipment from Fan Yiming. The equipment will be here soon." The equipment was probably installed in the container car long ago. The container car might even be parked near the town, ready to come at any time. "Let the car in," Charlotte said. "There's one more thing." Lu Xing looked around and then lowered his voice. "Don't you know?" "What?" "Xiao is back," Lu Xing said. Charlotte was stunned for a moment. He didn't think that Lu Xing would say something like this. He knew that Liang Xiao was coming back a week ago. Long Bing told him personally, but he didn't know the specific date. Now Lu Xing actually told him that Liang Xiao was back, but he didn't know. This kind of situation really surprised him. "She just called me and asked me to go to Haizhu to see Master," Lu Xing said, "so I want to take a week off to go back to Haizhu. Master is back, but I haven't seen him yet. I feel bad." Charlotte said, "Okay, go. Spend more time with Master. If a week isn't enough, you can extend your leave." "How can I do that? If I say it's okay, then it's okay." Charlotte said, "Also, when you go back to Haizhu this time, help me bring some gifts back to Master, and send my regards to the old man." Lu Xing smiled and said, "No problem. I'll pack up tonight and go back to Haizhu early tomorrow morning." Go. Lu Xing didn't leave. He tentatively said, "Don't you have anything to say to Xiao? She asked me about you on the phone, and I told her that you're fine. Well, I also told her that you and Shintu Tianyin divorced." "Forget it. I'll tell her when I see her," Charlotte said. Liang Xiao was back. It must be that Sherborne agreed to her conditions. She would be a member of 101 innings in the future, and they would meet a lot. "Then I'll go." Lu Xing left. Ring ring, ring ring ring. As soon as Lu Xing left, Charlotte's cell phone rang. Charlotte took out his cell phone and glanced at it. It was the number Liang Xiao used in China before, and he was very familiar with it. He couldn't help but smile. He was just wondering why Liang Xiao didn't contact him when she came back, and now she called. Charlotte slid the answer button. His lips moved, but he didn't say anything. "I'm back." Liang Xiao's voice came from the phone. The familiar voice, like the tone of a family member, suddenly brought Charlotte's mind back to the time when he loved her. "Back?" Charlotte pursed his lips. "It's good that you're back. Cherish this opportunity, and don't do anything wrong again. I missed it once. I lost the most important person in my life. I won't make the same mistake again," Liang Xiao said. Charlotte knew what she was talking about. "Then, when will you report to 101 innings?" "Tomorrow," Liang Xiao said. "I just talked to Sherborne today. I'll report to 101 innings tomorrow. Are you coming too?" Charlotte thought for a moment. "I'll come. Let's meet at 101 innings tomorrow." "Well, don't you have anything to say to me?" Charlotte's lips moved. Brother lazy." Fan Fan suddenly ran over. "Can you ask the workers to help me unload the goods?" Fan Fan's voice was very loud, and Liang Xiao heard it through the phone. "Who?" Liang Xiao's tone was full of probing. "Fan Fan," Charlotte said. "She's from the Academy of Science." "Well, that's it. See you tomorrow." "Well, I want to talk to you tomorrow." Charlotte hung up the phone. In his line of sight, Fan Fan was running towards him. Under the white cotton t-shirt, two big white rabbits were bouncing up and down, left and right. One was more lively and cute than the other. A pair of denim shorts tightly wrapped around her full moon, and a pair of white legs were exposed to the air. She was like a vivid painting, exuding a youthful and sexy aura everywhere. Fan Fan stopped in front of Charlotte. The two big white rabbits on her chest swayed for a moment, and then calmed down. She had a bright smile on her face. "Brother Lazy, quickly call the workers. I've already obtained permission. The workers can move my equipment to the villa." She actually obtained such permission. Charlotte smiled. "Well, I'll call the workers right away." As he spoke, he suddenly waved his hand and patted Fan Fan's waist. "What are you doing?" Fan Fan suddenly became nervous. Her face turned red, and there was a hint of embarrassment in her eyes. Charlotte pretended to blow his hand. "Nothing. It's just a mosquito. I'm just helping you to kill the mosquito." Fan Fan, she was afraid of contact with people. It was a psychological barrier. Charlotte wanted to destroy this barrier, bit by bit. Chapter 6:23. The workers moved Fan Fan's equipment into a room, turning the room into a laboratory. Looking at the equipment that filled the room, Charlotte couldn't help but feel a headache coming on. "My grandfather will come back in a few days to take a look. At that time, he will decide whether or not to move here," Fan Fan said. Xia Lei furrowed his eyebrows. One Fan Fan was enough to give him a headache. If Fan Yiming were to appear, it would be even more troublesome. "What's wrong, Brother Lazy? You don't like my grandfather coming here?" Fan Fan saw the change in Charlotte's expression. Charlotte revealed a smile. "Why would I? We are all here for the X-Secret Gold Project. Elder Fan coming here is a good thing for our work. If you can think like that, then that's good." Fan Fan's face also revealed a beautiful smile. "Brother Lazy, the equipment is here. I can start my work now. Can I trouble you to take off your clothes?" Charlotte said in surprise. "Didn't I already take off my clothes last time? Why do you want me to take off my clothes again?" "Last time, I didn't have any equipment. I only took a simple photo and checked. Now that the equipment is here, I have to do it again. Hurry up and take it off. Charlotte, take it off. Don't let your imagination run wild," Fan Fan specifically warned. "What kind of imagination?" Charlotte asked, even though he already knew the answer. "That kind of bad thing." Fan Fan's face turned red. "So you think that kind of thing is bad? Coming from a scientist like you, it's wrong," Charlotte said in a serious tone. "Don't humans rely on that kind of thing to reproduce? If it wasn't for that kind of thing, humans would have already gone extinct. Let's not talk about this, okay? I just want you to take off your clothes." Fan Fan couldn't argue with Charlotte. Charlotte pulled away and walked out. "I don't have time today. Maybe another day." "You!" Fan Fan was stunned on the spot. She didn't expect Charlotte to reject her like this. Charlotte secretly said in his heart, "You can do whatever you want. Your grandfather can come and go as he pleases. Who asked for my opinion? Give me the key to the treasure. I'm King human, not a key." "Wait." Fan Fan suddenly plucked up her courage and stopped Charlotte. Charlotte looked back at her. "Is there anything else? What do I have to do for you to cooperate with me?" Fan Fan bit her lip. "If you want me to strip naked, I'll strip naked. What kind of person do you think I am? If you want me to take off my clothes and cooperate with you, that's fine, but you also take off your clothes. We'll both take off our clothes," Charlotte said. "You!" Fan Fan was so angry that she couldn't speak. She never thought that Charlotte would put forward such a condition. "You're not willing?" Charlotte smiled. "Then why do you think I'm willing to strip naked in front of you? Is my body worthless, or is my dignity worthless in front of you?" Fan Fan couldn't find the words to refute. "That's it. We'll talk about it when I'm in the mood. Charlotte walked out of the door and added, I'm going to the underground laboratory. I'm going to touch the ancient alloy, so don't follow me. It's dangerous. Fan bit her lip and couldn't say a word. Charlotte's condition was indeed excessive, but what was even more excessive was that it was intentional. He wanted to use this method to send a message to the ZN Bureau. I'm not an object that you can do whatever you want. This message was also for Fan and Fan Yiming. He wanted to let Fan and Fan Yiming know that no one can force him to do what he doesn't want to do. This was necessary. If he blindly gave in, the other party would take his cooperation for granted. He didn't directly refuse Fan's request, nor did he directly refuse Fan Yiming's intervention, but he could delay it. The comprehensive upgrade of the Thunder Horse Army factory and the X-Secret Gold project could all be his excuses. Once the other party lost patience, they would surface, and he would see what kind of person was plotting against him. Of course, the more important purpose was to win over Fan and rely on her to get away with it. During this period of time, he had a certain understanding of Fan. This woman wasn't a woman that could be conquered with money and vanity. It was even difficult to conquer her with appearance. Her mind was only filled with her work. Coupled with her special physique, she had an instinctive fear and rejection of men. To conquer such a woman, he had to use his brain and some trick. Men and women had a very strange mentality. For men, the women they got weren't worth much, and few people would cherish them. For women, it was hard for a man who meekly accommodated them and spoiled them to throw a tantrum to move their hearts. They liked a man with personality, a man who could bring them excitement, or even a man who could make them cry. In short, men liked women who were hard to conquer. The harder it was to conquer, the more they wanted to conquer. For women, the more a man didn't take them seriously, the more they wanted to capture the man's heart and make him kneel under their skirt. After understanding Fan's personality, Charlotte also started his conquest plan. He wasn't in a hurry at all. In the underground laboratory, Charlotte took out the ancient alloy and the bronze book and placed them on the workbench. There was also a laptop. Opening the bronze treasure book, the first thing that came into view were many strange words. Some looked like a bunch of grass, some looked like a tadpole, and some looked like a human head. It had a nose, eyes, and even the lines of a mouth. Xia Lei had seen through the bronze treasure book before, so he knew that every word on the bronze treasure book had a syllable. The entire bronze treasure book was like a bronze tape or a bronze CD. Unfortunately, other than the syllables he could hear from the words on the bronze book, he didn't find anything else. But today was different. Charlotte opened the laptop. Under his control, a PDF file quickly appeared on the laptop's monitor. There were tiles on the document, and each tile had a pattern on it. These patterns were all different. Some were Chinese characters, some were people, and some were lines. These patterns gathered into a circular pattern, looking very messy. However, the clue that Charlotte found in the first treasure location was hidden in these messy patterns. Charlotte's gaze swept over the circular pattern on the PDF file. The patterns on the tiles were like dust being sucked away by a vacuum cleaner, rushing into his brain. His gaze then shifted to the bronze treasure book. The mysterious words on the bronze treasure book also surged into his mind. There were 10,000 mysterious words on the bronze book. The first treasure location had 999 tiles, so the total number was 10,999. This number was meaningless, but when they were combined, the result was different. In Charlotte's brain, the mysterious words on the bronze book and the pattern on the tiles kept combining and joining together. The head-shaped words moved on top of the human-shaped pattern. The man was a man and the woman was a woman. The line-shaped words moved on top of the line pattern, combining into a complete shape. The tadpole-shaped words and tadpole-shaped words combined to form a new pattern. This was not a random combination of imagination, but a pattern that could be followed. This was the clue that Charlotte found in the first treasure location. The patterns on the tiles and the mysterious words on the bronze book had a strange degree of compatibility. A very simple example was that the head of the figure on the tiles was blurry, lacking some lines. However, if one of the head-shaped words on the bronze book were placed on it, it would form a complete figure, and it would be very clear. Another example was the broken line pattern on the tiles. If one of the lines from the bronze book was placed on it, it would form a complete line pattern. Also, the Chinese characters on the tiles were almost all broken and hard to recognize. However, if one placed some lines from the bronze book on it, one would be able to form a complete Chinese character. After the patterns were combined, a simulation appeared in Charlotte's brain. It showed a larger circular pattern, looking like a compass with runes engraved on it. The center of this compass was a Chinese character, a character that he could recognize. These Chinese characters were connected to the pattern and formed a complete text. "You are the only one who can turn it." That was all. But this was already a very obvious hint. Charlotte's consciousness suddenly moved. That mysterious power suddenly awakened, and the compass in his brain began to spin rapidly. Strangely, a voice suddenly appeared in his consciousness. He was not unfamiliar with this voice, because it was the syllable hidden in the words of the bronze book. Before, he could not understand it at all, but this time he actually understood it. The energy hidden in his brain was like the needle on the record player, and his brain was like the phonograph that spun the disc. "You can read my voice because you are the only one. I left my voice in this bronze book. I want to tell you my story. I once obtained a box, and because of it I obtained a very powerful ability. My life is very long, longer than you can imagine. I built my own kingdom, and even I don't know how big it is. I conquered many, many women, and I can't even remember their names. My grandsons died of old age in front of me, and even my grandsons' grandsons' grandsons died before me. My long life became my pain, and my people called me the only one. I think that means God. But I know that I am not God. Wine, women, and vast lands could no longer satisfy my desires, and I began to want to unlock the secret of the box. So I left my kingdom. I climbed over the highest mountains in the world and crossed the widest seas. I don't know how many places I have traveled, or if there are any places in this world that I have not been to. My kingdom was destroyed, but I did not care. Then, the earth began to snow endlessly. I witnessed the extinction of all things, and I became the only one. You cannot understand this kind of loneliness. I let go of everything in order to unlock the secret of the box, but in the end, I found nothing. I despaired, and I wanted to end my life where the sun rose. I came to the east, the place closest to the sun, and this is the place I wanted to return to. I left you this bronze book, but when I was about to end my life... The voice stopped here. For the next half an hour, Charlotte stood in place without moving. He was like a stone statue that had crossed the world of ice. Chapter 6:24. The light of dawn dispelled the darkness, but it could not dispel the fog in Charlotte's heart. Charlotte spent the whole night imagining the identity of that me, and the era that me lived in. The identity of that me could not be guessed, but according to his description, the era he lived in should be before the Ice Age. And his story should have ended during the Ice Age. This was something that Xia Lei could not believe. In the history of the Earth, there were endless ice ages. The earliest Huron Ice Age was 1 billion years ago, followed by the Ice Age 800 to 600 million years ago, the Ordovician period 400 million years ago, the Carboniferous period 300 million years ago, and the most recent Fourth Ice Age. And even the most recent Fourth Ice Age was 58 million years ago. Assuming that me was a person before the Fourth Ice Age, then the era he lived in was 58 million years ago. It was an era of species eruption, with the dinosaurs as the representative of the large species ruling the world. But there were no humans in that era. In the modern history of archaeology, there was no evidence of the existence of humans in that era. And according to the description of that me, he established a kingdom during that period, which meant that not only did humans exist in his era, but they had also entered a feudal society. The feudal civilization in human history was the Qin dynasty, and its history was only 2,000 years old. According to the description of that me, he established a feudal dynasty more than 2 million years ago, and at that time, he was able to use the bronze book and leave his message in it. How could this kind of technology be comparable to the Qin dynasty 2 million years later? Not to mention the Qin dynasty, even the current era did not have such technology. What exactly was going on? In the face of these questions, Charlotte's imagination went wild. His voice did not end normally. He said that he was ready to end his life, but there was no more content after that. What interrupted him? Or did his life end at that time? The voice in the bronze book was abnormally interrupted, which also filled Charlotte's heart with imagination. "Brother Lazy, where are you going?" Fanfan's voice came from behind. Just as Charlotte walked out of the villa, Fanfan chased after him. "I'm going to 101 innings." Charlotte did not even turn his head. "What are you doing at 101 innings?" Fanfan looked anxious. "When can we start work?" Charlotte quickened his pace and said as he walked, "That's your job, not mine. I've said it before, I'll naturally cooperate with you when I'm free." "You?" Fanfan didn't know why Charlotte became like this. He was fine before yesterday. His coldness and dominance made her feel uncomfortable. Charlotte walked toward his Chevrolet Suburban. "Wait for me." Fanfan caught up and stood in front of Charlotte. Charlotte walked around her to open the car door. Fanfan stood in front of Charlotte again. This time, she opened her arms and puffed out her chest like an angry little girl. Charlotte wanted to laugh in his heart, but he had a cold expression on his face. "What do you want? Why are you doing this to me?" Fanfan said angrily. "What did I do to you? Did I molest you? Or did I hit you or scold you?" An arrogant sneer appeared at the corner of Charlotte's mouth. "That's it." Fanfan's emotions were a little out of control. "Boring," Charlotte said coldly. "Get out of the way. I'm in a hurry." "I won't move, unless you tell me the reason." Fanfan maintained her blocking posture. Charlotte took a step closer to Fanfan. His chest and Fanfan's chest almost touched. Fanfan subconsciously took a step back, but behind her was the car door. She had no way to retreat. Charlotte took another step closer. Fanfan subconsciously hugged her chest, for fear of being hit by Charlotte. After all, she was a woman who was afraid of contact. She had a psychological barrier. Even if she had the courage to stand in front of Charlotte, in the face of Charlotte's coercion, she still seemed so powerless, so fragile, and unable to resist. Charlotte suddenly reached out and pressed against the car door. Fanfan was trapped between his hands. His hands went through the ends of her hair. His chest was almost pressed against her chest, and his face was almost pressed against her face. "You!" Fanfan suddenly became nervous, but there was nowhere to hide. In her heart, Charlotte was no longer a gentle and sunny man, but an overbearing CEO. He was aggressive, he was unreasonable, he was like a wild beast that broke into her secret garden, and he destroyed everything beautiful. "Are you sure you want to stand in front of me?" Charlotte's tone carried a hint of ridicule. Fanfan stared at Charlotte with bulging eyes, afraid that he would suddenly touch her. She was very nervous and a little scared, but when she thought of the work that had to be done, she seemed to have found her courage again. She bit her lips and said, "Yes." "Humph." Charlotte coldly snorted, and his body suddenly squeezed forward. Fanfan was immediately squeezed against the car door. His chest was tightly pressed against her chest, causing the two naughty and cute white rabbits to change shape. His legs were also tightly squeezed against her legs, without the slightest gap. His manly characteristic was to violently press against her most sensitive part, like a spear, directly hitting the weakest part of her defense. This kind of contact carried a domineering aura, and the courage and perseverance in Fanfan's heart instantly collapsed. Her face was also completely red, and under this extremely sensitive feeling, her body also began to slightly tremble. With her special physique, when Charlotte touched her like this, it was actually similar to directly invading her body. In that instant, the feeling of happiness surged through her body like a tide, and her legs suddenly went soft, as if her bones had been pulled out. "Are you sure you still want to block me?" Charlotte used even more strength to squeeze her body. "I'm begging you, don't." And Fanfan's snow-white neck was red, and her voice was also trembling. At this time, how could she dare say the word yes? She didn't even dare to look at Charlotte. Charlotte suddenly let go of her, pulled her to the side, opened the car door, and entered the driver's seat. Fanfan anxiously looked at Charlotte, her legs tightly closed, not daring to move forward. Charlotte started the car, stepped on the accelerator, and drove away. Tears welled up in Fanfan's eyes, and the corner of her mouth twitched. After a long time, she finally said, "Bad guy. Pervert. You bully me. You bully me." However, her body yearned for the feeling just now, yearning for more. This made her feel ashamed. The Chevrolet Suburban drove forward, and Charlotte's gaze moved to the rearview mirror. Seeing that Fanfan was gradually being left behind, he apologetically said in his heart, "I'm sorry, I don't want to hurt you, but I have no choice." 101 Innings Headquarters. The Chevrolet Suburban had just stopped, and Tang Yuyen, who had been waiting in the parking lot for a long time, walked over. The tight black tank top made the size and height of her chest even more prominent, and the light blue denim shorts tightly wrapped around her sexy butt. That full and perky shape filled people with reverie. Her legs were exposed to the air, white and delicate, and her skin was as smooth and delicate as silk. Coupled with a pair of red New Balance sneakers, there was not a single part of her body that didn't exude a youthful and sexy aura. Charlotte got out of the car and greeted, "Morning, Yuyen." Tang Yuyen didn't speak, nor did she smile, and strode toward Charlotte. The morning wind blew her beautiful hair, and it felt extremely elegant. What does she want? Charlotte thought curiously in his heart. Before he could figure out this small problem, Tang Yuyen had already walked in front of him, and the moment their eyes met, Tang Yuyen suddenly stretched out her arms and pressed toward Charlotte. Charlotte subconsciously took a step back, but it was only one step, and his back hit the door of the tall Chevrolet Suburban off-road. It was also at that moment that Tang Yuyen's pair of lotus arms crossed his shoulders, brushed against his neck, and trapped him between her arms. This was a very intimate position, and her face was almost pressed against his face, and her chest was almost pressed against his chest. Her breath rolled onto his face with a faint woman's fragrance. Their eyes still met, but Charlotte was stunned. About an hour ago, he gave Fanfan a wall slam, and played the role of a domineering CEO. But now, Tang Yuyen had also given him a domineering female CEO-style wall slam. If this was retribution, wouldn't it come too fast? However, after all, Charlotte was not Fanfan, and he did not have the special physique of Fanfan, so he was not afraid of such contact. Charlotte smiled. "What are you doing? I've asked you out 3 times this week, and you haven't come out even once. What do you want?" Tang Yuyen asked Charlotte a question. Charlotte said, "Lima Manufacturing Company is fully upgraded, and I have to build a new smart machine tool, the 2nd generation of Lei Long smart machine tool. I don't have time to come out and play with you." "Then why aren't you staying at the Thunder Horse Army factory? Why are you here today?" It's not because." Charlotte suddenly stopped speaking. He suddenly understood why Tang Yuyen wall slam him. She had asked him out 3 times, but he didn't come out. Today, Liang Xiao was coming to 101 innings, so he rushed here from the Thunder Horse Army factory. It was this matter that had angered her. Say something. Tang Yuyan pressed towards Charlotte, but she controlled the distance and never really came into contact with Charlotte. She seemed to want the kind of effect that would provoke you but not give you. This is different. Charlotte smiled bitterly and braced himself to say, Liang Xiao coming to 101 innings is a bigger deal. You're still thinking about her, aren't you? There was a hint of jealousy in Tang Yuyan's eyes. Get out of the way. It's not good if others see us. Charlotte avoided her question. I'm not afraid of being seen. What are you afraid of? Push me, push me. I bet you don't dare to push me. Charlotte, at this time, a fierce SUV drove into the parking lot. Charlotte saw Long Bing sitting in the driver's seat and Liang Xiao sitting in the front passenger seat. For some reason, Charlotte suddenly squeezed towards Tang Yuyan's body. Their chests collided at that moment. One was a hard stone and the other was a soft cheese. With this collision, the cheese immediately changed shape. Liang Xiao blushed and took a step back. This scene did not escape the eyes of Long Bing and Liang Xiao. Long Bing did not have any reaction. She was still cold. Liang Xiao, on the other hand, frowned slightly and had a complicated look in her eyes. Tang Yuyan, on the other hand, revealed a proud smile. This was exactly what she wanted. Chapter 625. Long Bing and Liang Xiao got out of the car, and the two women walked towards Charlotte and Tang Yuyan together. The two women were both tall and voluptuous, sexy and enchanting. If a man had to choose one of them to date, it would really be a headache-inducing choice. At least, from that aspect, Charlotte didn't know how to choose. This was a choice between fish and bear's paw. Liang Xia looked at Charlotte, and Charlotte also looked at her. Their eyes entangled in the air. There was no sound, no sparks, and there was a faint sadness in their hearts. When they met again, those beautiful past events were like yesterday, but they could never go back. Tang Yuyan broke the silence between the four of them. It's really interesting. Former opponents are going to become teammates. The world is really small. Was this a welcome speech or a reminder to Liang Xiao? A faint smile appeared on the corner of Liang Xiao's mouth. Her body also exuded a kind of confidence and calmness that was rare in a woman. This was her response to Tang Yuyan. Liang Xiao and Tang Yuyan were both women who practiced martial arts, but she and Tang Yuyan were two completely different women. If the characters in martial arts novels were to be described, then Tang Yuyan was probably Huang Rong, and Liang Xiao was probably Xiaolongnu. One was from a famous family, and was full of evil spirits. The other wandered between good and evil, and was unpredictable. Have you talked it over? Charlotte finally spoke. Liang Xiao smiled gently. It's all settled, otherwise I wouldn't dare to come here. It's good that you're back. Thousands of words turned into one sentence. Charlotte was happy for her. Tang Yuyan said, Liang Xiao, although you got immunity, it doesn't mean that you didn't do something. You once hurt Charlotte, and I don't want the same thing to happen again. Of course, Liang Xiao wasn't happy to have the past brought up in front of Charlotte. She frowned slightly and said, Section Chief Tang, what are you trying to say? Or are you hinting at something? Tang Yuyan lightly said, We're all women here, so there's no need to say some words out loud. 101 innings is not the CIA. You are lucky to have this opportunity. You should cherish it and serve the country well to make up for the mistakes you have made in the past. You don't have to think about anything else. Section Chief Tang, what do you mean by others? You know what I'm talking about. The conversation between the two women was full of hostility. Charlotte suddenly had a headache. He coughed and said, Well, let's go to see Boss Sure. This is not a place to talk. Tang Yuyan and Liang Xiao shut their mouth. But at this time, Long Bing came up and grabbed Charlotte's collar in front of Tang Yuyan and Liang Xiao. Bing! Charlotte didn't know what she was going to do. He was inexplicably nervous. Long Bing straightened the collar of Charlotte's shirt and lightly said, "After the divorce, is there no woman to tidy up your body? Look at you, your collar is not tidied up." Tang Yuyan and Liang Xiao were petrified on the spot. The two heroines were fighting, metaphorically and implicitly, fighting with words and swords. However, Division Chief Long was so fast that he left them far behind. In terms of relationship, Liang Xiao was just Charlotte's ex-girlfriend. Tang Yuyan didn't even confirm their relationship. She only had an ambiguous relationship with Charlotte. But Long Bing was Charlotte's woman. She could let Charlotte go to her bed. With this kind of relationship diagram, she could ignore the fight between Tang Yuyan and Long Bing and straighten Xia Lei's collar in front of them. She could declare her ownership over Xia Lei. Section Chief Long seemed to be telling Liang Xiao and Tang Yuyan in this way, no matter who had a relationship with Charlotte, he is mine. No one can push me away. Okay, let's go. Long Bing tidied Charlotte's collar and patted Charlotte's shoulder. Thank you. Charlotte was happy in his heart. He thought Long Bing did a good job. He didn't want to be a thing or a toy for Tang Yuyan and Liang Xiao to fight. From this point of view, Long Bing did this to help him out. But at this time, Tang Yuyan suddenly slapped Charlotte's buttocks. Slap. A crisp sound. Charlotte looked at Tang Yuyan with a stunned expression. Long Bing and Liang Xiao also looked at Tang Yuyan with a stunned expression. "Io lazy, there is dust on your pants. Look at you divorced. Don't you have a woman to help you pat the dust on your pants?" Tang Yuyan said. Charlotte, using the same method to hit back at Section Chief Long, Tang Yuyan also did a good job this time. But at this time, Liang Xiao also came over. Charlotte became nervous. He subconsciously looked at his body, looking for places that were not tidied up or dusty. Unfortunately, there were none. Liang Xiao didn't tidy Charlotte's collar, nor did she reach out to pat the dust on Charlotte's buttocks. She just said, "Lazy, my dad also moved to the capital. He wants to see you. Come home with me tonight." The sentence, "come home with me tonight," was said in a gentle and euphemistic way, like a wife talking to her husband. She was Charlotte's first girlfriend. If it weren't for her identity as a CIA intelligence officer at that time, she would have been Charlotte's marriage partner. Her father, Liang Zhengchun, was Charlotte's master. He taught Charlotte the Wing Chun Kung Fu that was passed down from his ancestors. He had long regarded Charlotte as his own son. Therefore, her advantage was not something that Long Bing and Tang Yuyan could compare with. And when she said, "Come home with me," this sentence made it even more impossible to pick out the slightest mistake in her wording. Liang Xiao also did a good job. Charlotte bit the bullet and nodded. "Where does Master live now?" Liang Xiao pursed her lips and smiled. "He lives with me. We rented a house in the Sunshine District." Charlotte said, "How can we rent a house? Why don't we?" Tang Yuyan suddenly interrupted Charlotte's words. "Let's go. If we are late, my godfather will scold us again." Only then did the three women's battle come to an end. Charlotte also secretly breathed a sigh of relief. This was only the first day, and the situation was already like this. If this happened more often, how could he live? He also began to regret coming here today. The four of them came to Sherboran's office, where Sherboran had been waiting for a long time. Sherboran's expression was serious. "Liang Xiao, you only have one chance. I hope you cherish it. Do you understand what I mean?" "Yes." Liang Xiao stood at attention and said. "After research, the Bureau has decided to set up an action team for Europe and the United States. Not only will it be responsible for intelligence work, but it will also be responsible for combat missions. Your team members will report to you later. You have to familiarize yourself with them and train them." "Yes." Liang Xiao's answer was simple and straightforward. "Finally, let me remind you. This is 101 innings, not the CIA. No scheming is allowed here, and no relationships between members are allowed. I know that you and Charlotte used to have a relationship. Although it was fake, I don't want any scandals between the two of you. Can you do it? This time, Liang Xiao did not give a simple and direct answer. Can you do it? Sherboran's tone was very strict. Liang Xiao bit the bullet and nodded. Yes. Rules were set by people who could control whether someone was in a relationship or not. Long Bing and Charlotte were a living example. The 101 innings rule was there, but the two still rolled in the sheets together. Tang Yuyan also pestered Charlotte to replace Shintu Tianin's former position. Therefore, the 101 innings rule was actually a decoration. It's good that you understand. The three of you can go out, Sherboran said. Long Bing, Tang Yuyan, and Charlotte turned around and left. Sherboran said, Charlotte, who said you can go? You stay, I'm talking about them. Liang Xiao was stunned for a moment, then followed Tang Yuyan and Long Bing out of Sherboran's office. Boss Sher, what's the matter? Charlotte asked tentatively. Sit. Sherboran got up with a smile on his face. What tea do you want? I have Jin Junmei and oolong tea here. Boss Sher, don't be so polite with me. If you have something to say, just say it, Charlotte said with a smile. Then I won't make tea for you. Charlotte, Sherboran pressed Charlotte on the sofa, then stood in front of Charlotte like a bear. I say, you must know Yu Yan's mind, right? She's not young anymore. Now that you've divorced Shintu Tianin, you're also a single man, the organization has decided to matchmake you two. What do you think? That isn't it forbidden to fall in love? Charlotte's head was already swollen. Sherboran glared at Xiaolei and said in a serious tone, Of course it's not possible to talk about it in private, but this is a match made by the organization, so of course it's different. The organization he was referring to was probably him. Boss Sher, I've just divorced, I'm afraid of women, and you still want me to get married? Yu Yan is not a tiger, what are you afraid of? You brat, other people can't marry her even if they want to. She sent herself to your door, and you still want to push her away? Try pushing her again, I'll beat you to death. Charlotte, okay, I know you're not feeling well now, I'll give you some more time, but you have to make a decision quickly. Grandpa Tang calls me every day, I'm tired of him. Charlotte smiled bitterly, thank you, Boss Sher. By the way, how's your work at the Academy of Science going? Charlotte wanted to tell him the truth, but in the end, he just said, It's okay, but those people are not straightforward. They're just a bunch of people with a pen, don't take them seriously. As for the work at the Academy of Science, you can just fool them. Hurry up and finish the work at hand, then come back to carry out the task. Well, I'll arrange an easy task for you later, just you and Yu Yan go to carry out the task, how about it? Charlotte, say something, kid! Okay, haha, okay. Charlotte laughed dryly. Get lost. Charlotte got up and left, as if a stone had been lifted from his heart. Wait. Sherboran suddenly stopped Charlotte. Boss Sher, is there anything else? Charlotte looked back at him. Sherboran pointed at Charlotte's nose. You're not allowed to fall in love with Liang Xiao, absolutely not, or I'll beat you to death. Charlotte! Chapter 626. No matter what, his master was his master. A master for a day, a father for life. Charlotte hadn't visited Liang Zhengchun since he returned to China. Now that Liang Xiao mentioned it, he had to visit Liang Zhengchun, no matter what. Charlotte prepared some gift. In the evening, Charlotte drove to the Sunshine District where Liang Xiao rented. This was a very ordinary district. The houses were relatively old and there weren't any greenery facilities in the public area. It was obvious that this was a district where ordinary people lived. Seeing his master and the woman he once loved living in such a place, Charlotte's heart didn't feel good. As soon as Charlotte parked the car, Liang Xiao walked over. She had been waiting for him since early in the morning. If you didn't come, I would have thought that you wouldn't come, Liang Xiao said with a smile. Charlotte got out of the car with a big bag of gifts. I bought some gifts on the way, so I was a bit delayed. No need to be so polite. Liang Xiao's eyes had a faint hint of admiration. Charlotte smiled. I can't come empty-handed, can I? Take the things and follow me. Liang Xiao took the bag of gifts from Charlotte's hands. Charlotte followed her and said, Xiao, why are you and Master living in a place like this? Liang Xiao said, What's wrong with living in a place like this? The place where my father and I used to live is just like this. There's not much difference. If you have any difficulties, just say it. You don't have to be polite with me. I didn't have the ability before, but now I can help you. Charlotte said, Are you talking about money? I really don't have much money. The CIA's salary isn't high. This time, I also ran away and didn't dare to withdraw money from the bank. This time, when I came back, my father paid for the rent. Liang Xiao said, Master didn't earn much money from opening a dojo before. How about this, I'll buy a house for you and Master, and then give Master some money for retirement. What do you think? This can also be considered a little filial piety. Charlotte said. Liang Xiao smiled. You want to buy a house for me and Dad? If that Tang Yuyan finds out, won't she come over and tear down the house? Charlotte was a little embarrassed. We're just ordinary friends. You treat her as an ordinary friend, but she doesn't treat you as an ordinary friend. Can't you see? This morning in the 101 innings she put me in my place, hinting at me not to get close to you. She seems to think of you as her boyfriend, doesn't she? Charlotte didn't know how to answer this question. He coughed and said, Well, let's talk about something else. Have you gotten used to living in China? There's nothing going on between you and Longbing, right? Charlotte, although there was only a slight difference between men and women, sometimes they were like species from two different worlds, and there was no point in their thinking that could be intertwined. Entering the door, Charlotte saw Liang Zhengchun sitting on the sofa watching TV. He called out, Master. Liang Zhengchun hurriedly stood up from the sofa. Liang Xiao said with a smile, Dad, Leister is here, and he bought a lot of gifts for you. Leister, really? My home is your home. Why would you buy gifts when you're back at your own home? Although he said that, Liang Zhengchun's face was full of smiles. He had always treated Charlotte as his own son. Unfortunately, his daughter had done such a thing to Charlotte, and he, as her master, was too ashamed to see Charlotte. Now that Charlotte was here, even if he didn't buy anything, he was still happy in his heart. Charlotte went forward and knelt to Liang Zhengchun. This was an ancient ritual, but people who practiced martial arts paid attention to it. And Charlotte was also willing to give such a big gift to Liang Zhengchun, because he was able to escape from danger several times and live to this day, which had a lot to do with the real Wing Chun Kung Fu that Liang Zhengchun taught him. Liang Zhengchun helped Xia lay up and sighed in his heart. Look at you. If you want to come, then come. A gift, and a big gift at that. I'm ashamed. I can't accept your big gift. Master, don't say that. You are my master in this life. Besides, how could I come to see Master empty-handed? No matter what, I have to buy something, right? In fact, I didn't buy anything, just the frozen top oolong tea and some supplements that Master likes to drink. Charlotte said. Liang Zhengchun laughed. You kid, do you think I've reached the point where I need to eat supplements? Although I'm old, I'm still strong. Liang Xiao said, Dad, Lazy is here, let's eat. Liang Zhengchun looked at Liang Xiao. His face suddenly became cold, and sternly said, Eat what? There's still one thing left to do. Charlotte couldn't bear to see Liang Xiao being blamed, and quickly said, Master, what else left to do? I'll do it. You just stand. Liang Zhengchun said, Xiao, come here. Liang Xiao's lips moved a bit, and she slowly walked in front of Liang Zhengchun and Charlotte. Kneel. Liang Zhengchun shouted. Liang Xiao shivered and looked at Charlotte. Why are you looking at him? I want you to kneel down and apologize to Lei Zi. Liang Zhengchun angrily looked at Liang Xiao. Charlotte finally understood what Liang Zhengchun meant by the things he didn't do, and quickly tried to persuade him. Master, don't be like this, Xiao and I are fine, I don't want her to apologize to me, she didn't do anything wrong, it's her job. You're still protecting her. Liang Zhengchun was even angrier. At this moment, Liang Xiao knelt in front of Xiaolei with a plop. Her tears also flowed out uncontrollably. Lei Zi, I was wrong. Please forgive me. Charlotte reached out to support Liang Xiao, but Liang Xiao didn't get up. If you don't forgive me, I won't get up, Liang Xiao said. Charlotte's eyes were a bit moist, and his voice was slightly trembling. I forgive you, it's okay, get up, get up. Only then did Liang Xiao accept Charlotte's support, and stood up from the ground. She saw the tears in Charlotte's eyes, and at that moment, her heart was touched in the softest place. Happiness and sadness swept through her heart, and her tears once again uncontrollably flowed down. Why are you crying? Do you regret it? When you and Lei Zi were together, it was a blessing given to you by the heavens, but you didn't cherish it, and even did that kind of thing behind his back. My old face has been thrown away by you. Liang Zhengchun really didn't give any face to Liang Xiao. Liang Xiao silently accepted it. She dared to look at Charlotte, but she didn't dare to look at Liang Zhengchun. Okay, let's eat. Charlotte quickly diverted Liang Zhengchun's attention. At the dining table, Liang Xiao obediently poured a glass of wine for Liang Zhengchun and Charlotte. Charlotte said, Xiao, you also drink a glass. It's rare for us to reunite today. Liang Xiao nodded, and then looked at Liang Zhengchun, as if asking for his permission. Liang Zhengchun snappily said, If Lei Zi wants you to drink, then drink. Do you want me to pour wine for you? Charlotte had already picked up the wine bottle and poured a glass of wine for Liang Xiao. Thank you. Liang Xiao's voice was very small. Let's drink to this reunion. Charlotte raised his glass. The 3 glasses clinked together. This glass of wine seemed to be particularly sweet. After drinking a few glasses of wine, the atmosphere also eased up, and Charlotte said, Master, I want to discuss something with you. What is it? Liang Zhengchun looked at Liang Xiao, and the latter also picked up a piece of pork ribs for Charlotte. Charlotte didn't pay attention to this, he said. Master, I didn't have the ability to be filial to you before, but now I have the ability. I don't feel good about you living in such a place. You are like my father, and others will say that I am unfilial. What do you want to say? Liang Xiao interrupted. Dad, Lei Zi wants to buy us a house, and he also said that he wants to give it to you. Liang Zhengchun interrupted Liang Xiao's words. When did I allow you to speak? Shut up. Liang Xiao obediently closed her mouth. Liang Zhengchun looked at Charlotte. Is it true? Charlotte said, That's what I mean. I want to buy you and Xiao a house, and I want to give Master some money for his retirement. How can you do that? Master, why can't it? You are my master, and I am your son. Why can't a son buy a house for his father? Just accept it and give me a chance to be filial. Charlotte said very sincerely. You have a house and retirement money. Liang Zhengchun said with a smile. Don't tell me you still miss my silly daughter? Charlotte, Dad! Liang Xiao rolled her eyes at Liang Zhengchun. Lei Zi wants to be filial to you. Why are you dragging me into this? Lei Zi is filial, just accept it. It's not a big deal, I will pay him back later. How? Do you think I don't know how expensive a house in the capital is? Even if I sell you to him, you won't be able to pay him back. Liang Zhengchun said. Liang Xiao secretly glanced at Charlotte with the corner of her eyes. Charlotte quickly picked up the ribs that Liang Xiao put into his bowl, and chewed it again and again. Okay, I will accept it. However, you bought the house, so you have to come to see me every few days, or else I will move back," Liang Zhengchun said. Charlotte smiled and said, "Of course, of course." After eating, Liang Zhengchun said he was going to find someone to play chess with. He didn't wait for Liang Xiao to clean up the dishes and slipped away. Only Charlotte and Liang Xiao were left in the house. The atmosphere was inevitably a bit awkward when old lovers get together. "I will help you clean up." Charlotte helped Liang Xiao clean up the dishes. Liang Xiao grabbed Charlotte's hand. "How can you let a man do this kind of thing? You rest." She let Charlotte rest, but she didn't let go of Charlotte's hand. "I will help you clean up." Charlotte pulled his hand out, picked up a plate, and walked to the kitchen. Liang Xiao also walked to the kitchen, but the kitchen door was narrow. The two walked in at the same time and suddenly squeezed together. Liang Xiao's soft breasts were pressed against Charlotte's chest, and the half plate of scrambled eggs with tomatoes in her hand was splashed on her and Charlotte. The two hurriedly separated, but the half plate of scrambled eggs with tomatoes had already taken root on her chest, lower abdomen, and short skirt. Charlotte wasn't spared either. His chest, lower abdomen, and crotch were full of tomato juice. Sorry, don't move, let me help you." Liang Xiao reached out to pat the tomato and scrambled eggs stuck to Charlotte's crotch. Charlotte didn't react, and that place was patted twice. Her hands seemed to have magic, and with just 2 light pats, the cloth seemed to inflate a little. Liang Xiao squatted down and continued to clean the dirty things on Charlotte's pants. Her neckline was wide open, and there were some tomatoes and scrambled eggs in the snow-white deep cleavage. Not only did it not feel dirty, but it also added a bit of delicious taste. Her squatting posture exposed more of her peerlessly beautiful legs, and there was even a hint of purple lace on the edge of her legs. The snow-white thighs, the purple lace, and the mature area tightly bound, the faint indentation, the chubby shape, all of these were tempting. As a result, before Liang Xiao's soft hand visited that place again, Charlotte's part popped up again. "Take it off later, I will wash it for you." Liang Xiao's voice was very gentle, and a soft hand gently patted Charlotte's crotch. Rather than patting, it was actually like an iron, and there was steam added. Charlotte soon couldn't stand it. "Well, I suddenly remembered that I still have something to do. I have to go back to the company." How are you going to go out like this?" Liang Xiao's eyes were full of disappointment. Charlotte pulled away and left. "It's okay, it's just dirty pants. I'm sitting in the car, no one will see. By the way, I will ask my assistant to look at the house tomorrow, and I will call you when it is done." Liang Xiao sighed softly. She didn't want the house, could he not see it at all? Chapter 6:27. In the dawn, a pair of young people strolled on the grass. The man was handsome and tall, and the woman was gentle and lovely. Hand in hand, the two of them formed a beautiful scene in the golden morning sun. Charlotte looked at the young people, and his mouth couldn't help but show a smile. The boy was Ryu Youngnam, and the girl was his sister. Seeing that his sister could find the happiness that belonged to her, his heart was very pleased. Ryu Youngnam was not only excellent at work, but he also had a way of dealing with people. More importantly, his character was very good. He was a man who knew how to take responsibility. He was very relieved to entrust Xia Shui to him. Charlotte walked over. "Brother, are you also taking a walk?" Xia Shui saw Charlotte and said kindly. "Chairman Xia, good morning." Ryu Youngnam also greeted Charlotte. Xia Shui touched Ryu Youngnam with her arm. It seemed that she was hinting something to him with this action. Ryu Youngnam also changed the way he addressed him, "Brother." This was a form of address to confirm their relationship. Charlotte was a little embarrassed, but he still nodded. Masato, you go and buy a house today." "Why do I need to buy a house? I have my own house," Ryu Youngnam said. Xia Shui smiled and said, Brother, do you want Masato to buy a house and a car to marry me? Charlotte glared at Xia Shui. What are you talking about? If you get married, I will give you a building. Why do you need Masato to buy a house? I asked Masato to buy a house for my master. The property rights will be registered under Liang Jingchuan's name. No problem. Ryu Yongnam agreed immediately. Brother, is Liang Xiao back? Xia Shui probed. Charlotte said, yes, she is back. Brother, did you and Liang Xiao get back together again? Why do you talk so much? You don't have to worry about my business. Charlotte said again, Masato, when you buy the house, get another 5 million from the finance department. Give this money and the property rights to my master. Okay, no problem, Chairman Xia. Brother. Ryu Yongnam seemed to be not used to this new form of address. I'm going to the workshop. Charlotte turned around and left. Brother, I'm also going to buy a house. Xia Shui said. Charlotte waved his hand. Go. Buy a villa. Don't try to save money for me. It's under my master's name. It has to be generous. Well, don't worry, leave this matter to me and Masahiro. Xia Shui said with a smile. When Charlotte walked away, she said to Masahiro, Masahiro, let's go to the real estate under the Wanxiang Group to take a look. Buy a building from sister-in-law? Ryu Yongnam looked troubled. Chairman Xia didn't say anything about it. He probably doesn't want to do that, right? Chairman Xia, spit out what you ate from me. Ryu Yongnam was speechless. Xia Shui said charmingly, listen to me on this matter. But Ryu Yongnam wanted to say something but stopped. Xia Shui took Ryu Yongnam's arm and shook it gently. Then, do you listen to my brother or me? You. Ryu Yongnam couldn't stand the coquettish Xia Shui, but he also had his opinion. But, why do you want to buy a building from sister-in-law? If we go there, she will definitely not ask for money. You're stupid. Xia Shui said with a smile. Liang Xiao is back and sister-in-law still doesn't know about it. Liang Xiao is my brother's first girlfriend. We almost got married. She is back now. If sister-in-law doesn't take the initiative, she won't have a chance to get back together with my brother. I'm doing this to send a signal to her. Besides, it's just a villa. My brother doesn't care about it, and my sister-in-law doesn't care about it either. If my brother knows about this, what should I do if he scolds me? You can rest assured. I will block it for you. Then you give me a kiss. Didn't you eat enough last night? You're a greedy little pig. Hee, just one kiss. Bo. Xia Shui's cherry lips were attached to Ryu Yongnam's cheek. Love was an intoxicating wine, but it was also a tangled vine. Charlotte walked to the new workshop where the second generation of Lei Long's smart machine tool was built. Before he got close, he saw a person standing at the door of the workshop. That was Fan Fan. She was wearing a summer uniform of the Lei Ma military factory, short-sleeved and trousers, and the shoes on her feet were also a pair of big-toe leather shoes. She didn't look like a female scientist in this dress, but a blue-collar female worker who had just entered the factory. Fan Fan was still wearing the work clothes, and she was still curvy and full of curve. Especially the snow white exposed in the open collar of the short-sleeved shirt and the clearly visible deep cleavage, it was eye-catching temptation. Charlotte felt strange, but he still pretended to be cold on the surface. What are you doing here? I want to be your assistant, said Fan Fan. Huh? Charlotte sneered. You want to be my assistant? Fan Fan looked very serious. Yes, I want to be your assistant. I will help you finish your work, and you will help me finish mine. Charlotte said, you study bioengineering, and I do the work of a mechanic and an electrical engineer. What can you help me with? I can help you with the tools. When you are thirsty, I can help you pour water. I can also help you wipe your sweat. Fan Fan blushed. She knew very well that she couldn't help much with the work that Charlotte wanted to do. But apart from this method, she really couldn't think of a way to let Charlotte cooperate with her work. You go back. I said that when I have time, I will cooperate with your work. Charlotte bypassed Fan and went to the door to enter the password. The door opened. Charlotte entered the workshop and Fan followed. Charlotte looked at her speechlessly. You? What do you want? To be your assistant, Fan said angrily. She had never been ignored like this, but now Charlotte not only ignored her existence, but also looked down on her. Well, go and bring me that tube of wire. Charlotte pointed to the corner of the workshop, where there was a tube of wire that weighed 50 pounds. Fan followed and bent down to pick up the tube of wire. She carried it with difficulty, and her footsteps were somewhat unstable, but she gritted her teeth and persisted, step by step, towards Charlotte. If you can't do it, don't force yourself, Charlotte said. I'll be your assistant, and you have to help me finish my work, Fan said. Seeing her struggling, Xiaolei couldn't bear it and almost agreed to her request. But he swallowed the words that were on the tip of his tongue. He had to follow his plan, or else all the efforts he had made during this time would be in vain. I'm sorry, I don't want to do this, but you are working for the Zien Bureau. You are an opponent I must win against, Charlotte secretly said in his heart. Fan staggered over to Charlotte, and at that moment her foot slipped on an oil stain. She suddenly cried out in alarm, and the two of them fell to the ground together with the wire. Charlotte suddenly leaned over, grabbed her waist, and twisted her body onto his before she fell to the ground. Pada! The two of them fell to the ground, but Charlotte was under Fan. Charlotte acted as a shock absorber, so she wasn't injured. Strangely, the two of them who had fallen to the ground strangely quietened down. Fan, who was afraid of contact, didn't resist, nor did she get up from Charlotte's body. She just lay on Charlotte's body and quietly looked at Charlotte. Her body gently pressed against his body, and she could feel what was happening to Charlotte's body. That place was getting harder and harder, and it was standing up bit by bit, invading the area between her legs. Charlotte felt strange in his heart. Isn't she afraid of contact? Now that she's lying on me, why is she so quiet? But at this moment, 2 tears rolled out of Fan's eyes and fell on Charlotte's face. You! Charlotte was at a loss. What's wrong with you? It was fine if Charlotte didn't speak, but as soon as he spoke, Fan suddenly cried, and her tears fell one after another. You bullied me. What did I do wrong? Why do you bully me like this? When did I bully you? You still deny it. You asked me to take off my clothes. You asked me to help you take things. Now you're still thinking about bad things in your mind. Charlotte, I just want you to cooperate with me to complete the work. Why are you making things difficult for me? Xiaolei suddenly moved the hand that was on Fan's waist a little lower. Under his hand, that plump and perky buttocks suddenly trembled a little. You! Fan suddenly became nervous. After all, she was a woman with a special physique. Her emotions had suppressed her body's reaction just now, but after venting, her emotions stabilized, and her body's reaction was suddenly magnified. Charlotte's hand stroked her butt, and that feeling was like an electric shock. This feeling was magnified by her nerves, and her body suddenly turned into a pile of soft mud. In the blink of an eye, her cheeks and neck had red marks of excitement. Charlotte pretended to comfort her as he played naughty tricks. Don't cry, this is a misunderstanding. Fan bit her cherry lips, and her beautiful eyes were about to spit fire. What are you doing with your hand? Charlotte pretended not to hear, and his hand continued to play naughty trick. No, stop it. What are you trying to do? Fan bit her cherry lips, and her body trembled. She could have broken free from Charlotte and climbed up from his body, but she didn't do so. The feeling of being touched by him was so wonderful that she was addicted to it. If she got up, Charlotte would stop his action, but she didn't. I've been ignoring her these days, and even bullying her, but she doesn't really hate me. Now that I'm treating her like this, she actually doesn't avoid me. It seems that I've thought too highly of her. She has actually fallen for me. Charlotte thought of this in his heart, and it was also under this thought that he suddenly raised his head and kissed Fanfan's cherry lips. Fanfan's body suddenly trembled violently, and her whole body turned into a pile of soft mud. Under Charlotte's offensive, she had already laid down her arms and surrendered. She liked Charlotte, and that seed was actually sown in the Academy of Sciences. That time at the Academy of Sciences, Charlotte was mocked and ridiculed by Lin Yi, and looked down upon by several old scientists, but he only used a few minutes to solve a problem that Lin Yi couldn't solve in half a month. At that time, in her eyes, Charlotte was a shining man. She liked men with a high IQ, and this condition was ranked before money and appearance. But Charlotte not only had a high IQ that made her admire him, but he was also a successful, handsome man. He was also the father of rifles in China, and the person who built the world's most advanced Lei-Long intelligent machine tool. How could such a man not make her heart move? She liked Charlotte, and the seed germinated on the way to the first hidden treasure. She hated others touching her, but she didn't dislike Charlotte carrying her through that muddy road. Moreover, she actually entered that tall thing in his arms just like that. A man let a woman enter that tall thing, even if she didn't admit it, it was also evidence that she liked him. These days, Charlotte deliberately ignored her and even bullied her. She was very uncomfortable, and her mood was extremely low. She also realized that unknowingly, Charlotte had already entered her heart, and she couldn't get rid of it. Now, Charlotte's kiss ignited her emotions. Her last psychological line of defense also collapsed. However, Charlotte didn't know about her psychological changes, but Charlotte also had his own way. During the passionate kiss, his hand quietly reached into her clothes. Fanfan nervously closed her eyes, but apart from this reaction, she didn't have any other reaction. Success. Charlotte's heart was filled with excitement. Chairman Xia. A man's voice suddenly came from the loudspeaker system in the workshop. The entangled man and woman suddenly stopped, and Charlotte's hand was still holding that soft and naughty big white rabbit. Fanfan stared at the closed door with her eyes wide open, and a trace of sparkling saliva remained at the corner of her mouth. This still picture was very wonderful, very beautiful. Chapter 628. Director Xia, are you inside? The person outside the door spoke again. Only then did the still scene move. Charlotte was the first to break the silence. Fanfan, get up quickly. Someone's here. Fanfan's soul had been floating in the air until Charlotte's voice called her back. After coming back to her senses, she hurriedly climbed up from Charlotte's body, but because of her body's sensitive reaction and lack of strength, she actually fell back down. Those two mischievous white rabbits fell heavily on Charlotte's chest again. This was really going to kill her. It's all because of you, Fanfan said as she bit her lip. Only then did she carefully climb up from Charlotte's body. Charlotte also climbed up from the ground. There was a black grease stain on his butt. However, this wasn't the most embarrassing part of his body. The most embarrassing part was between his legs. There seemed to be a writing brush hidden there, and it was a standing writing brush. Fanfan looked at the writing brush out of the corner of her eyes. Her watery eyes were like a person walking in the desert who saw a sweet and juicy sugar cane. Charlotte sighed in his heart. Women with special constitutions were really interesting. She was like a grassland in winter. She was fine as long as there was no light, but as long as there was a spark, she would burn like crazy. Still looking? You only know how to bully me, said Fanfan with a red face. Charlotte smiled awkwardly. He didn't know what to say. Charlotte waited until Fanfan had tidied herself up before opening the door. The Thunder Horse military factory security guard stood at the door of the workshop. What's the matter? Charlotte wasn't angry that his good time had been disturbed. The security guard said, Director Xia, there's a person outside the door. He says he wants to see you, but he won't say his identity. He won't even tell me his name. Department head Lu isn't here, so I came to ask Director Xia. All right, I got it. You go first and bring him to my office. I'll be right there, said Charlotte. Yes, Director Xia. The security captain left. Fan said, Could it be my grandfather? Charlotte asked, Is your grandfather coming? Fan said, I told you, my grandpa is coming too. He said that this would be beneficial to the research of the Alloy X project. Of course, Charlotte knew about this matter. He was secretly glad that he had just dealt with Fan. If he hadn't dealt with Fan earlier and Fan Yiming had arrived, he wouldn't have had a chance to deal with her under Fan Yiming's watch. However, he still couldn't relax, because that level of effort just now wasn't enough to truly deal with Fan. He still had to put in a bit more effort to completely deal with Fan before Fan Yiming found out. I'll go take a look. Wait for me here, Charlotte said. However, Fan wanted to catch up. I want to go and take a look too. All right, let's go together, Charlotte said. Wait. Fan suddenly reached out and grabbed Charlotte's pants. Charlotte subconsciously took a step back and said nervously, What are you doing? We're outside. Fan's face turned red. Your zipper is open. I'll help you pull it up. Charlotte was speechless. He did not know when his zipper had been unzipped, but he must have known that it had been unzipped by Fan. He really couldn't tell that the pure and cute female scientist was actually a woman who was sultry on the inside. When he arrived at the office, Charlotte didn't only see Fan Yiming, but also an unfamiliar man. He was between 30 and 40 years old, had an average figure, and looked ordinary. However, his eyes left a deep impression. They were like the eyes of an eagle, sharp and unfathomable. Who is this person? Charlotte thought to himself, why did this person come here with Fan Yiming? At this moment, Fan Yiming smiled and said, Mr. Xia, let me introduce you. This is my student, his name is Song Baiqing. Yes, he can be considered to be in the same field as me. He has high attainments in the field of materials science. When Fan Yiming introduced Song Baiqing, Charlotte glanced at Fan from the corner of his eye. He realized that Fan was still staring at Song Baiqing. Fan's reaction aroused Charlotte's suspicion. If this Song Baiqing is really Fan Yiming's student, then Fan would definitely recognize him. She wouldn't stare at him like that, right? Moreover, she didn't even greet him. If he isn't Fan Yiming's student, then why did Fan Yiming say that he is? Could this Song Baiqing be someone from Bureau Zien? Song Baiqing walked up and took the initiative to extend his hands to shake Charlotte's hand. When he spoke, he had a flattering smile on his face. Mr. Xia, it's really a pleasure to meet you in person. Although Charlotte had begun to doubt Song Baiqing's identity, his expression remained unchanged. He shook hands with Song Baiqing and said with a smile, Mr. Song is too polite. I respect you scientists the most. It's a pleasure to meet you. Fan Yiming said, Mr. Xia, I plan to stay here for a few days. Firstly, it's to help Fan complete her work. Secondly, it's to start the Alloy X project. What do you think? Elder Fan, of course, that's no problem. You can stay here for as long as you want. Charlotte said a few polite words. Fan Yiming said again, Baiqing also has to stay. He's my assistant. That's no problem, right? Charlotte smiled. Of course, no problem. I'll get someone to arrange a place for you to stay. Song Baiqing said, There's no need to specially arrange it. Elder Fan and I will stay in that villa. Just arrange 2 rooms for us. This Song Baiqing knew about that villa the first time he came. He clearly came prepared. The probability of him being from Bureau Zien was more than 50%. Fan Yiming said, Yes, let's stay in that villa. I heard from Fan that your laboratory is also there. It'll be good for us to work there. Charlotte said, No problem. Then you can stay there. Come with me. I'll take you there. Charlotte led Fan Yiming, Song Baiching, and Fan Fan to the villa. Then, he arranged a room for Fan Yiming and Song Baiching. Fan Yiming then suggested that they go to Charlotte's laboratory to take a look. Charlotte brought the three of them to his laboratory for a tour. I really want to see that medal, Song Baiching said as he looked at the safe. Charlotte said with a smile, if Mr. Song really wants to see it, I can satisfy you. I can take it out and show it to you. Song Baiching was obviously very moved, but he made the opposite decision in the blink of an eye. Forget it. I heard that medal is very dangerous. Until now, only Mr. Xia has been able to touch it. I'll wait for the right opportunity to see it. After leaving the underground laboratory, Song Baiching suggested that they go to Fan Fan's laboratory to take a look. Fan Fan brought Song Baiching and Fan Yiming to her laboratory. Charlotte said, you guys go ahead. I won't be going. I have to go to the workshop. Thunder Horse Military Factory is being fully upgraded. I really don't have enough time. If you need anything, just give me a call. Mr. Xia, go do your work. We'll call you if we need anything, said Fan Yiming. Fan Fan looked at Charlotte with a complicated expression. She clearly hadn't gotten over the previous incident. If her grandfather and Song Baiching hadn't suddenly come to Thunder Horse Military Factory, and if that security guard hadn't knocked on the door, she really didn't know how far she and Charlotte would have progressed. She didn't know why, but not only was she not afraid of developing a relationship with Charlotte, she was actually looking forward to it. Fan Fan, go. Bring your grandfather and Mr. Song, said Charlotte. See you later, said Fan Fan with a hint of a smile at the corners of her mouth. See you later? Was this a hint? Charlotte smiled and turned to leave. Walking out of the villa, Charlotte didn't go to the new workshop. He took out his phone and stood below the villa, pretending to make a call. His left eye's line of sight locked onto Fan Fan's laboratory, and then he activated his X-ray vision. Fan Fan's laboratory was on the first floor. Standing in front of the villa's door, Charlotte only needed to use his X-ray vision to see the situation in the laboratory. In the laboratory, Song Baiching was in front of Fan Fan's laptop, looking at the document Fan Fan had created. Fan Fan and Fan Yiming were next to him, talking. Charlotte used lip reading to decipher the conversation between Fan Yiming and Fan Fan. Grandfather, this Mr. Song isn't your student. Why do you say he is? Said Fan Fan. This Mr. Song is. Don't ask about things you shouldn't ask. Just do your job properly, said Fan Yiming. Fan Fan smirked. Big Brother Lei doesn't like it when I treat him like a lab rat, and I don't know who wants us to do this. I can't explain it to him either. This is unfair to him. He is our country's hero, not a lab rat. This is a huge matter for the entire human race. No one can stop it, said Fan Yiming. I believe that Charlotte will understand. At this moment, Song Baiching finished reading Fan Fan's document. He turned around and looked at Fan Fan with a slightly unhappy expression. That's all you have? You don't even have the most important part. I've already started. Fan Fan looked a little nervous. Is Charlotte unwilling? Asked Song Baiching. No, he has always been very cooperative with me. It's just that he's too busy, said Fan Fan. Song Baiching looked at Fan Yiming. Elder Fan, this is very important. We can't delay it any longer. I want to completely understand Charlotte's body condition in 1 week. Can you do it? If you can't, I'll get someone else to do it. We can do it, said Fan Yiming. Fan Fan looked like she wanted to say something, but Fan Yiming touched her arm, indicating that she shouldn't speak. Song Baiching said, During this week, I will help you complete your work. If Charlotte rejects it, I will put pressure on him. If he cooperates, I won't do anything and just wait for you to come up with the result. Is there a problem? No problem, said Fan Yiming. I don't have a problem either. Fan Fan's response was very straightforward, but her eyebrows were slightly furrowed. Charlotte ended his X-ray vision. His heart was clear. This Song Baiching was definitely someone from Bureau Zien. He also knew very well why Fanfan was furrowing her eyebrows. It was because she knew that he rejected research that was directed at him. In fact, it wasn't hard to see from this point that although Fanfan was working for Bureau Zien, her heart was still with him. Otherwise, she wouldn't have lied to Song Baiching and Fan Yiming and said that he was very cooperative. I bullied her so much, but she was still willing to help me. She's so good, but I was thinking about how to get her into bed and achieve my goal. I'm really a hooligan. Charlotte shook his head and smiled bitterly. His heart was also filled with guilt. However, what should be done still had to be done. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.